the village board and trustees all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the clerk call a roll, please?
Trustee Diaz?
Here.
Trustee Clue?
Here.
Trustee Fritz?
Present.
Trustee Bissette? Trustee Lima?
You would have put that. Much coffee.
Trustee Gorzinski?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Here.
Figure about it. Here.
We have a quorum. Could I have a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes of June 16th?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by trustee Klug, a second by trustee Diaz. Call the roll, please.
It was Fritz.
Oh, I thought it was
You had a
Fritz.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh,
the minutes of the 16th, you're at.
Oh, yeah, no,
you're right.
that's June
Second.
2nd,
If you open it up, it's actually
June
second.
2nd.
Yes.
Sorry,
So it was,
I'm just reading what's on it.
who was the?
We're not there yet. Klug and Diaz.
Who did he
Yeah.
answer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Call the roll.
Diaz?
Yes.
Clue?
Yeah.
Fritz?
Yes.
Lima?
Yes.
Gorzinski?
Yes. Okay, motion passes. Okay, we have a guest speaker today, and I would love to welcome Senator Mulroe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the board. I just want to start by saying thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and for all that have come tonight as well. I'm just going to try to we have a little agenda out there and what I can talk about, but I'd be happy to answer questions once we're done, if you have any. So I thought I'd start with some good things that have been happening down in Springfield and bills that I've sponsored. The first one on my list is Senate Bill 466. It's regarding, or actually mandates insurance coverage for 3D mammography. And currently there's, the technology is 2D, and the way I like to describe that is a deck of cards, and if you're looking at the front and the back, you can't see the individual cards. 3D, through three-dimensional mammography, actually will look at every card and slice through it, and it leads to earlier detection, and it'll save more lives by obviously detecting breast cancer sooner than later. So I actually had passed a bill last year that the governor had signed, sort of encouraging insurance companies to cover the new technology, and I told everyone I'd be back if everyone did not. About 10 insurance companies did cover it. There was about 50 3D technology machines in hospitals throughout Illinois a year ago. There's now 86. So it seemed to be appropriate that we do it, and there was some resistance from the insurance industry, but not too much. So that should be hopefully signed by the governor. It was bipartisan effort, almost unanimous votes. Second one, Senate Bill 2610. It's actually was brought to me by Sister Rosemary Conley from Misericordia. They operate under multiple licenses, about 5 or 6. They take care of people with disabilities from cradle to grave. She asked if there was any way we could create a new license called a continuum of care to reduce the bureaucracy and help them out. That too passed both chambers with almost unanimous support, so hopefully the governor signs that. The next bill is Senate Bill 3011. That's called Tobacco 21. The idea behind that was to raise the age to buy cigarettes from 18 to 21. That met with a lot of resistance, and initially my knee-jerk reaction was I wasn't sure I was really very passionate about it, because 18 you can do a lot of things, including serving our country. But the more I thought about it, and after listening to retired generals that say, hey, that smoking has no health benefits, why would we want to give that product to our young men and women that are serving our country? I thought it was a good idea. We had about probably 300 members from the Cancer Society come down to Springfield. I didn't think I had the votes, but I called it for a vote on the Senate floor, and we came up a little short. You needed 30, we got about 25. I worked the members throughout the next week, enlisted the help of the Senate President, and called it the following week, and we got about 32 votes in the Senate, so it actually passed the Senate, went over to the House, and it met with a lot of resistance, so it did not get called in the committee or on the floor there. If it goes forward, I still think it's a good bill. The studies show if kids don't start smoking by the time they're 21, very little chance that they'll smoke at all. It costs not only private citizens who smoke a lot of money per pack, it also costs the state almost $2 billion. So I think it makes sense on a multitude of levels. So I'm going to let it go in the House next time to make sure they can pass it before I pick it up in the Senate again. House Bill 4633, unclaimed life insurance benefits. There's insurance policies right now, and someone dies, when they die, the beneficiaries are actually the beneficial owners of that policy or the proceeds. Well, the insurance companies aren't contractually obligated to actually go out and try to find the beneficiaries. And it's in their best interest to hold the proceeds until they, under the contract, 99 plus 5 years before they turn it over to the state and the unclaimed property for the treasurer to try to go seek out the beneficiaries. So this bill is designed to make them look a little more for the beneficiaries and use this death master file. If you're in the insurance industry, you would know what that means. They use it to stop payments for annuities if people have them, but they don't use it to pay out benefits. So it was a lot of, there was compromise involved. Senator Hayne was the chairman of the insurance committee, has been working on this for a while. The treasurer was interested, so we came up with a compromised bill to actually get people their money that they're rightfully owed if they're the beneficiaries of a policy and someone died. The second part of my little agenda there is end of year. The House passed a bill that was to appropriate money for education, K through 12, higher education, and social services. It was out of balance, but everybody knew that. We don't have any money. We're spending more than we're taking in right now. But it was designed to keep the conversation going. It didn't pass the Senate. The Senate had their own version where we said, hey, we need to provide money to fund K through 12 education. That passed the Senate, but didn't pass the House. So at the end of the day, on May 31st, we did not pass any bills that appropriated or gave the governor authority to spend any money regarding anything that was not already covered under court orders, consent decrees, federal mandates, or state statute. So that's directly affecting a lot of people, a lot of seniors. Sunshine Activity Center is a center that we have in the 10th district. It takes care of adults with disabilities, respite care at night. There's only about 30 people, but those people are the women that actually are providing those services and taking care of them and renting their space. Have been borrowing on their homes against their homes and whatever they can to actually try to pay for the services, and in the hopes that the state will pay them what they're owed. That's, I guess my best example is that if we don't take care of those people, they don't go away. So they're going to end up in other places that it'll actually cost us more money. And this is regarding most of the social service programs that we offer. If people aren't getting taken care of, either in their homes, they can end up in nursing homes, which is obviously more costly. They'll end up in prisons, or they could end up in emergency rooms, which is more costly as well. Maryville Academy already announced that they're not going to be funded to take care of troubled kids in their residential. They're trying to push them into foster homes. And the last thing on my list is the Veterans Home right down the street at Forest Reserve Drive in Oak Park. It's about a third of the way completed, or at least the shell, and because of the impasse, it's not getting completed, which is, that home is designed to take care of about 200 veterans, elderly veterans, 30 beds of which are going to take care of elderly veterans that have Alzheimer's or dementia. Getting to the budget, I passed out a graph that, it's the colorful one, it's a pie chart. The piece of the pie chart that's pulled out is what's not being paid for right now. There's another graph in there that shows you the amount of money that we're bringing in. So fiscal year 16, we're bringing in about $31.6 billion. And this pie chart, we're spending 3.7 right now. The amounts at the bottom of the pie chart is what we're not spending money or giving any appropriation authority to the governor, or he won't sign them, is for higher education, some grants for K through 12, and other human service program grants. Those are the big ones. And the best way I can explain this is, when we had the income tax rate at 5%, we were taking in $100, and we were spending $100, and it would have covered everything on the graph. But because of the reduction in the income tax rate from 5 to 3.75, that amounted to about $4 to $5 billion. And as a result of that, we're taking in $90 and spending the $90, and it's basically beyond our control. It's because of those court orders, consent decrees, and the governor had actually signed the K through 12 budget, and it's the 10% that we're we're taking in 90, spending 90. The $10 that we're not spending on is the piece of the graph that's taken out, and that's higher education and the social service program. So we got to decide as a society, do we want to take care of that? Or where can we cut? So the whole idea right now in this budget mess is being held up because, and I don't know, at first I thought it was Madigan that wanted to have no budget so he could blame it on the governor, or now I'm convinced they both probably don't want it. Because on the last day of session, the governor, while we're trying to negotiate a bill in our caucus, he's on the stage of the Capitol, inside the Capitol, with all his members behind him, saying how we're going to pass out this unbalanced appropriation bill that was sent over from the House, which eventually failed. And the next day, June 1st, the day after we ended session, he went on this tour of 9 cities throughout the state of Illinois, just bashing us for passing an unbalanced budget or not passing any budget or appropriation bills themselves. And it's all for political gamesmanship right now at the expense of the people that need it most, our universities and the people that rely on government the most. And I am just urging the governor at this point, and I think what's happening right now is he's taking away his turnaround agenda and is actually concentrating on the budget. It's going to be a short-term budget, though, with regard to state operations, and it's going to be a 12-month budget for K through 12 education. That's what I think is going to happen. We have working groups down in Springfield every day from both parties, both chambers, and trying to work this out. So to say it's frustrating would be an understatement. But that's pretty much the state of state. The one thing that I'd like to just end on, though, is, I'm sort of sick and tired of, the tone, the negativity that's going on. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we have a great state. We have almost 13 million people here compared to our surrounding states that have maybe Wisconsin, Missouri, and Indiana about 6 million. Iowa is 3 million. Their tax rates are all over the place. We're low compared to all of them. Most of them have progressive rates, but in the end, we have to determine what we want to pay for as a society, and when we do that, and if we decide that that's the most efficient way and cost that we do it, we got to pay for it. Otherwise, we're going to continue to do what, the practices of the past. That's how we got here. 30, 40 years of not paying for our obligation, not paying our bills. So I'm against that. I want to determine what it's the cost to run government, and then I'm in favor of paying for it. So our kids and our future don't. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, and once again, thank you for having me.
Senator, do you see a resolve coming with the 2016 budget, and then there's still the 2017 budget that they have to work on?
Yeah, we're closing in on the end of fiscal year 16, which is June 30th. And then we normally pass a budget May 31st for fiscal year 17. So we haven't passed the budget for either of those years. So fiscal year 16 is, I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. Hopefully, I think, talk is that, hey, if we get our act together and get a bill together, we'll actually bond out some money to actually go pay the people that we owe from fiscal year 16, and then put it on a plan to repay that bond. Because otherwise, if we're just focusing on fiscal year 17, the universities that I think are so important for our state, we did a bill within the last 3 weeks or so that gave them 30% of what we normally give them. That translates to me, if the state's not funding the universities, like they should, they're gonna still, they have the same cost. So if the state's not giving them money, the universities have to find the other monies, and it probably results in a tuition increase, which I don't think is good. I mean, especially for the middle class, working class, or poor that are already struggling to pay for a college education that could be $30,000 to $40,000 a year. And I have 4 kids, and I got 3 out and another one going in, and it's extremely expensive. So I'm hopeful that as part of this solution, Mayor, that is taken care of, and we fund or pay the people that are providing services to the state, and that we take care of our universities, because that's one of the great things that we have about this state. We have a highly educated workforce in our universities.
I think what's frustrating is that, municipalities are told that, we have to pass budgets, and we're penalized if we don't pass budgets, and yet who penalizes the state for not passing a budget? I mean, where does it
We
go
are,
from
we
there?
are getting penalized, so these unpaid bills, after a certain period of time, it's 1% per month. So we're incurring interest charges by not making our payments. So there's nobody's coming down on us, but there's already laws in place if we fail to do that. And the way it reads, our Constitution, our state Constitution reads that the governor is supposed to present a balanced budget. He's gonna say, what do you rely on the revenues? What do you think are the expenses? They shouldn't exceed the revenues. Then as the General Assembly are supposed to appropriate or give the governor authority to spend those expenses. It's a tough place to be right now. But there's a lot of good people down in Springfield, and before I got elected, people thought I was a good person too. But so now you get elected and you're part of that, the people in Springfield, and I didn't know what I was getting into either. Maybe if I had, I might not have done it. I don't know, I'm just kidding. It's been a fascinating experience, but it's struggling, a lot of struggling, but there are good people down there trying to do the right thing, but sometimes it amazes me we can get anything done. You need 59 senators, 118 reps, and you gotta get a majority of both of them to pass a bill twice. A majority in the Senate, majority in the House.
Any other questions for the senator?
Well, just that, in the area of I noticed here, this chart is pretty interesting to me in a way, because they talk a lot about the debt, and I know one area that the state has been much, it's passed on to the taxpayers too, is the low credit rating, so that if there is any extra borrowing, it's at a higher interest rate, because of the low credit rating. But I noticed here that, I guess this is in zillions, right?
Yes.
So 2 billion plus is not a small number, but I find it interesting that it's actually relatively small compared to some of the other obligations that you have to deal with, like the pensions and the funding for the education. So there's a lot there on the plate.
Yeah. No, and you know what, I'll tell you, this is my 6th year going down there, my first 4 years, and it's the result of the income tax going from 3 to 5. We were able to make escalating pension payments. In 94, 95, to address the pension problem, they did, what they called the Edgar ramp, and they underfunded pension payments for 10 or 12 years, and then they went up $1 billion each year. So they started at 600 million, and now we're at, about 6.6 billion. And it's gone up $1 billion each year. But it's actually leveling off now, but I think it was pretty obvious that once that ramp started, and went from 1 to 6, that's $5 billion difference. So look at human services, you can cut out the whole program and not pay anything, and it's not, it still doesn't cover what we're paying towards pensions. So we just have to sit down and, it's unfortunate, but it's part of being an elected official. You gotta get elected, and when politics, meets policy, that seems like the politics take over. And right now, I think the election's in November, everyone's in election mode, and but you can't forget why you're there. And sometimes you gotta take votes that do the right thing, and maybe it hurts in the election, but you can go home and say, I did the right thing.
Senator, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I will. Do you have an opinion on the independent map amendment that is being proposed for the fall in the referendum? I know it's something that's been around for a few years, to take redistricting out of the hands of the politicians and put it into an independent committee.
Yeah, I have no problem with whatsoever. My district, the Senate district, is made up of Mike McAuliffe, who's a Republican, and Rob Martwick, who's a Democrat. And we could be the model of the state. I mean, we all get along. I sponsor in the Senate bills for Rob and Mike. So it works together so to me, I mean, when I got elected, I'm a Democrat. I don't look up your party affiliation when you come to me and ask for your help, So this is complicated though. It's not like Iowa where everyone's sort of, homogeneous. Illinois is very diverse, geographically and ethnicity-wise. And there's a federal law that says we have to have minority representation in the districts. So the way they drew the maps the last time, you first have to draw out maps for minority representation in not only the African-American community, but the Latino community. And then you sort of fill in the maps. So, I mean, hey, independent map makers, go to it, but it's not as easy as everybody thinks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Senators, briefly, is there any chatter on the floor, not necessarily, a plan proposal from you, is there any way to sort of handle the spending gap that this last chart identifies without extending what the income tax is? I guess the reason I'm offering that is, I think there's a sort of understanding that we'll just have to adjust to a life where taxation levels are higher, sort of as a result of that pie chart, which shows a lot of these costs are simply not variable, right? There's only so much, we have to spend $7.4 billion on Medicaid. That's not something we have much of an option about. 6.6 in terms of pensions, again, those are contracts, there's nothing we can do about. It just seems like there's a pretty stark future if we don't extend that sort of income tax level. Is there any, and I guess, is there anything being discussed about ways we can find to close that spending gap without it, or is this just something we're simply going to have to live with?
So these working groups, and I actually met with the governor's office and the guy that's in charge of budgets. They're actually trying to work on a combination of cuts and increases from wherever. And it's tax dollars that we're talking about in revenues, and whether that's from expanding the base or sales tax to services, or trying to reform pensions, although we've tried that, and the Supreme Court has ruled on that. There are talks about cutting Medicaid. We did that though in my first 4 years. So there are talks of trying to balance it both ways. I would just, if I could, the tax rate's important, but more important than the tax rate, I think, is to provide stability and predictability in our state. And I'll say that in light of the tax rates that are surrounding us, the states, because when you're coming here as a business, you want stability. And if you're relying on state government, whether you're a municipality or a provider, or just anyone in general, you want it stable. And if you ask the businesses, that's what they're looking for. Probably the most important is the stability. So I told you 13 million is the population, about 13 million in Illinois, and we currently have the 3.75 rate. I went from 5 to that. So we had 3 to 5, then back to 3.75. Missouri has 6 million people. Their rate, they progressive, and we have to have a flat rate because it's by our Constitution, unless we try to change the Constitution, which is a tall task. They start at 1.5 and end at 6. Wisconsin has 6 million people, they start at 4. They also have progressive and end at 7.65. Indiana has 6 million people and they have a flat rate, 3.4, but they also impose a local income tax. So when you impose the local income tax, it's higher than our 5. Kentucky is about 4 million people and they're progressive, they start at 2%, end at 6%. Iowa, 3 million, they start at 1% and end at 9%. And Michigan, probably closest to us in population, 11 million, they have a flat rate of 4.25. Now, I realize that's only income tax, we've got other taxes going on too, but they're talking both right now. And so I would expect whatever they propose, if these working groups propose, first of all, the leaders gotta get behind it, and the governor has to get behind it too, but I would anticipate it's a combination.
Thank you.
Sure. Sure.
Senator, besides property taxes, which are the largest revenue stream, sales tax and income tax are probably our second and third highest revenue streams here at this village. Any word, are we gonna see a cut in those anytime soon?
So,
Or a
the-
different type of?
So the only, and property taxes are high, but the only way, you gotta pay for services somehow. So one of the suggestions, I mean, there's so many different suggestions in Springfield about, changing to a progressive rate. If we gave more as a state for education, and most of our property tax bill goes towards that.
I'm more concerned about where the sales tax and income tax that's paid from the taxpayers to the state and distributed to us. Do you think that they would ever foresee a different distribution rate where the villages would get less?
Oh, so you taught local distributed fund?
Yeah.
No, that, in those working groups, that's pretty, everyone's standing up for that. I mean, that's always on the table, they always try to, hey, we can cut that, but ever since I've been down there, I think they've been talking about that, but they haven't been able to do it. And when I went to this meeting with the governor's people, and there was probably one other senator, 4 other reps, they said that's not part of this solution. As of right now, all right?
Anything else? Well, we appreciate you coming out today, Senator, and thank you very much. I hope you keep us informed,
I will.
keep in touch.
And then, thank you very much for having me.
Hopefully we can see a budget soon.
I do, hey, believe me, I just sense like everyone's getting really frustrated. Maybe it's part of being in a democracy, and we don't have one person just making the call, but you gotta get everybody to agree to something. And the more they hear from people, either, in the community that are suffering, I think the quicker we get to that solution. And, part of me is saying, hey, let's get a 12-month budget, for fiscal year 17 and take care of fiscal year 16. But that gets back to the combination of cuts and revenue. So that means people got to maybe vote on an increase, and it's an election year, and that's probably not, politically feasible at this time. So I think, but I want the schools to open. But part of me is saying, if we don't, we force it. Let's get a 12-month budget and stop messing around. But it's probably more likely going to be a short-term budget for operations, but a 12-month budget for school, K through 12. That would be my guess.
Well, all you have to do is talk to Light and Family Services, and they're just suffering something fierce in Franklin Park, so,
That just gets back to, hey, we're providing service, keeping people in their homes, or keeping them involved, or, give them a watchful eye or taking care of them, and if we let them go, they don't go away.
right.
They're just gonna show up at someone else's door. That in my prediction, will be more expensive. So, but I really appreciate you guys here. Anytime you wanna run something by me or have something you wanna say, I'm happy to take your call. All right, thank you very much. You guys have a great night.
Okay. All right, we're at the point of persons wishing to be heard. Is anyone here tonight that would like to be heard? Okay, we're going to move on to the consent agenda for consideration and action. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
A second.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Grzinski, a second by trustee Diaz. Call the roll, please.
Diaz?
Yes.
Klug?
Yes.
Fritz?
Yes.
Lima?
Yes.
Grzinski?
Yes. Okay, motion passes. All right, we're going to move on to the committee of the whole discussion items. Take it away, Brad.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, the first 2 items are relating to resolutions that are a follow-up to prior board and committee discussion and action for the property assessment incentives at the former Atlas Toyota properties that are now owned by Skyline Industrial. So you know that the one resolution is a 6B for the River Street industrial buildings. And the 7C is for the River Road buildings that were industrial but would become a commercial use. Any questions on those? Okay, then the third one.
Briefly?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
These are back on because they needed a resolution, correct? Not just what we did last meeting?
Yes, that's right. The last meeting was really to kind of talk through the whole thing, give an opportunity for questions, concerns to be raised, and then for us to be able to explain what it was all about, the analysis we did and all that. So this comes back for the formal approval. So if the board does approve these tonight, then we would send that notification on to the applicants so that they can follow up on their own with Cook County. And that applies for the third one too, which is the Avers manufacturing proposal for the former HPC site. And that's the one over there on at the corner of Soaring and 25th, near the Kennedy School and District 81 offices. And that's to remodel the building to also manufacturing use with a 6B assessment incentive. Any questions on that one? Okay. All right, then moving along, then the fourth one here, we had some discussion at the board level, I think, but most of the work has been in committee on this one as well. Came out of the Administrative Finance Committee after a couple of meetings of hearing proposals from the Gallagher agency representing the Intergovernmental Personal Benefit Cooperative and the Gentilezio Insurance presenting a renewal option for the village to consider. And even though both presented very different proposals, their business model is quite different. I would say that the Gentilezio is more of a conventional insurance agency type of approach, whereas the other one, as I said, is a combination of municipalities that join together for a reinsurance coverage. The one common denominator is that both presented the insurance proposal with Blue Cross Blue Shield program that's the same as what we have right now. So that was the one steady, standing, constant during the whole process. So the rest of it was what they could bring forward. And in the cover memo that I presented and what we talked about with the staff at the committee meeting was that the proposal here that's submitted from the committee, that came out of committee, was to continue by renewing the Gentilezio proposal at $1,788,000 and some odd dollars. The proposal from the other group was, I think, $1,709,000, so there was like a $78,000 difference, I believe, which was about $7,000 per month. Now, one of the other things we pointed out was that the Gentilezio, though, does provide a lot of services with their approach to providing us with their professional advice. They've worked with us on a number of things, anything from looking at these buildings that we've had a lot of trouble with, with the systems, with the flooding and that type of thing. They've advised us on a lot of questions that come forward regarding the work employees' safety, not safety, but the employee wellness and other programs. So it was kind of hard to give a complete apples to apples comparison. It was more like apples to oranges, as I say in the memo. But anyway, that's what came out of the committee. Certainly, the village can go forward with either one of these proposals, but this was the recommendation coming forward. So I think the difference is probably about a 4% or 4.5% difference between the one and the other. But the committee felt like we should stay with the same one, at least for another year. This is a one-year thing, and then see how things go from there. We'll look at our, just like we would with anything, we look at the loss record, and they'll look at the loss record. meaning how much the program is used, how many families and individuals use the healthcare coverage. So, anyway, I think that's pretty much covers it. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, and I don't want to parry you too much.
Yeah.
You did a real nice recap of this, and the committee definitely took into account that we were sort of suggesting the option that is a little more. We're talking about a very large bill, over $1.7 million on each, so the percent variable is about 4%. Basically what the committee came down to is that Wayne seems to provide a value that exceeds what that cost differential is. One of the things to take into account, there's likely going to be additional administrative costs by taking on the co-op. There was some uncertainty about how exactly it would be handled, given that we haven't delved into that. Wayne sort of handles all that for us. Also given we've had a lot of sort of institutional turnover, I think over the last handful of years, and Wayne does provide some stability. And I think he acts more as almost a consultant than an extra staff member, than just an agent. While we're always looking to ensure the lowest cost available for everything we possibly can, I think Wayne's shown, and from recommendations of staff and what I've seen him do, the value he provides, at least at the current time, as long as his rates were able to stay close, and I believe that number represented about a 0% increase year over year from him, at least. So
yeah, that's
introducing
true.
some competition was able to save us money no matter what we went with. And the sort of services and value he provides seem to at least cover that cost to us, especially given that we would be having to take on a lot of extra administrative duties with a small in-house staff. Particularly in the sort of, the finance department will be taking on a lot of it, and we sort of throw Rob absolutely everything he can handle, as is. So due to a lot of debate, a lot of chit-chat over it, we felt that was probably the right decision. But again, that's just solely the recommendation of the committee. Everyone is allowed to voice their opinion and vote. That's your leverage. So feel free to use it as you feel that was the recommendation of the committee.
Also, both premiums are under the budget amount for health.
Also true.
I think we budgeted 12% increase in.
We got zero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect. Well, I'm glad you mentioned about the staff thing, because I have told all of you, I didn't want to be complaining, but the fact is, I've worked with the pool before. It's very good. They have 100 members. There's no question that they presented a solid proposal. At the same time, it would create a lot of extra work for us that right now is being done by the insurance consultant. We would have to be going to committees, board meetings. There's other things that they expect you to do, because basically it's like it's a co-op. So if we're going to do that in the future, if we don't do it now, if we do it in the future, we would have to give some thought to that. What we would need to do to adjust the staff effort to make it happen.
And there's likely going to be a time where the rate a small shop can provide is simply not what the co-op can do. And that's likely going to come eventually, but currently we felt it's not quite where we need to make the changeover. I think we took a lot of thought, a lot of debate. We think we covered this at 3 different meetings, 2 committees, and then 1 board meeting. So I think we exhausted it and are giving the recommendation we feel is correct. Thanks, Brett.
I would like to give some thoughts on this on my own too. I'd like to ask the board to table this for tonight. And here are my reasons. I understand, your reasoning with the difference in premiums, but it is almost approximately $80,000 in difference. To me, that's not chump change. The current insurance broker and the IPPC, that's a lot of money. That could fund, we're looking at hiring new police officers, we're looking at possibly buying new vehicles for departments. I mean, that's a lot of money. Plus, it's my understanding that if we don't spend all the premium money that we give to the IPPC, we get a refund at the end of the year. Now, over the last 3 years, municipalities have averaged a 5% refund, which could mean another $80,000 coming back to us. If we renew with our current agency, there's nothing that we get back. I know myself, I have a renewal of my insurance policy coming up for my own auto insurance. Again, it went up. So I went out and I did some comparisons. And I've been with my current company for probably 10, 15 years now. I was able to get, shopping around, I was able to save $500 a year. Now, yeah, you've been with an insurance company a long time, but $500 to me is a lot of money, especially, but here we're talking, $80,000. So I'm kind of comparing that we really need to look at this. We're talking about $80,000, and what bothers me is that before when our insurance company had come due, we were told, to expect, the insurance company told our finance department, expect anywhere from a 12 to 10%, 10% to 12% increase. So we budgeted for that, which, obviously it's gonna be under, but at the same time, I don't like the idea that had we not gone out and looked for another insurance company, we would have paid that increase. And that bothers me. That's like, I don't know, that's kind of, oh, well, I'll pay for it if they don't look for somebody else. That really, kind of bothered me a lot. They went down to a 5% increase, and then when they told us, we told them that we were shopping around, then all of a sudden they come up with a 0% increase. So, again, that's another reason I wish to table this tonight, but there's another bigger reason. The IPBC determines their own rates. We have a current premium and coverages, which is the exact same coverage that we have now. However, our current insurance carrier, although they have said that we're going to get a 0% increase, they have not submitted an official renewal letter stating this. We have gotten the numbers from our broker, but they have not given us a definite from Blue Cross Blue Shield. So in order for them to give us our 0% increase, they may be jeopardizing some of the coverages that we have now. So I want to see something in writing that says from our insurance carrier that they are going to give us that 0% increase, and that it's not jeopardizing anything from what we have now. I'd also like to give the IPBC another opportunity if because we're still dealing with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Now, both of them, the IPBC, 94% of the premiums that we pay to them, if we went with them, go towards claims. 6% goes towards administration. With our current agency, 80% of the premiums go to claims and 20% goes to administration. That's a big number there that we're playing with. Obviously we're dealing with a middleman with our current carrier, whereas with the IPBC we're not going to be dealing with that. Now we have to take into consideration. Yes, Wayne has been around a long time. Yes, he does a lot of things, but is he worth $80,000? I mean, is he really worth $80,000? Now, I've talked to Rob. I've asked him, can our staff that we have now take on additional duties? I think every company has asked. You've even mentioned that. Moses has asked that, mentioned that. Companies ask their employees to take on a little bit more to do. I would say that we could handle it. I mean, we have some very good people downstairs right now, and I think that it's our responsibility to really look at this and say, you know what, let's see if they're going to give us that. I'd like to see this in writing. We are talking over $1,700,000 here. And we have until September to renew this. If we went with the IBC, we would just need 45 days in order if we wanted to go with them. And then again, if we wanted to stay with our current carrier, we could renew in September. So my recommendation to the board is to table this for now. Let's see if the San Gentilizio can come with a definite letter stating that we will get 0% with the exact same coverages without jeopardizing. So that's my recommendations, and I'm hoping that the board takes that into consideration. So.
Brad, have we got anything from Blue Cross for coverage and cost? Anything at all?
other than what Wayne said?
No, we were relying on the proposal process, which was through the agents. So all I can do for both of those is point to the
why we have a dollar amount.
the materials that they gave us, like in the letter that, I mean, all we have is the letter that, in the case of Jan Palacio, where he talks about how he went and talked with them, this was what they negotiated, this is what they came back with. We had the same kind of information from Greg Alleman at Gallagher on behalf of IPBC. So yeah, that's true. We would have to get that from both of them just to reinforce it. But that should be a formality. I mean, in all my years, I've never seen a misrepresentation by the agent. So I have to just take, and I haven't known Wayne as long as I've known Greg for a number of years, because back when I was in Wooddale, we had the Gallagher and the IPVC, and I can't remember any time when he didn't tell the truth, and the same thing with Wayne. So we just have to take their word. But you're right, we do have to get that actual information. You are correct, Mayor. We'd have to do a formal document. And we're in that time frame now where they would need to put that together for us. That's true.
Brad, you have more experience with IPVC than I do. Places where I've seen them, usually there's an HR department for kind of coordinating all that stuff. Do you know how much they would be requiring of us administratively to do? They didn't really even explain that too much of what they would require us to do.
Well, we'd have to go and, we would have to send people to meetings, we'd have to do a lot of the administrative work on
There
our
would
own.
be, yeah, there would be off-site, I haven't sat down
It's a while.
and calculated all that. I didn't do a time and motion
So
study.
that was my fault, not you.
But your question is a relevant one, and I'm glad it came up. I mean, this is part of it, because yes, the difference, there is this, let's say round it up, that there is this $80,000 difference, gross number, but you have to also consider, what's the real net difference? The net difference is when you take into account the time value of the people that we have to send away from here. They're not gonna do something here, they're gonna be doing something else, or they aren't actually here present. Because these meetings, from my recollection, I mean, you could occasionally have a meeting here, I suppose, if you were like chairman of the committee. And if you're chairman of the committee, that's extra time. A lot of these meetings, in the past, used to be in Itasca. Some of them are, I think, up in Buffalo Grove. There's different places where they hold these meetings, so they do pull them away from here. And we would have to just make sure that if we were part of that, if in the future the board decides to go with Gallagher and this IPPC, which could very well be either now or later, I would just, we would have to sit down and figure that out. And I'd be looking to you to help me do that,
I probably questioned, I probably should have asked.
Yeah.
No, I think they,
Well,
it was asked and I think explained. I mean, I don't think we had a layout of minute by minute how to
Great.
handle it, but
Greg and Dave Cook explained that.
I think they answered the question.
Yeah,
There's
all
a
the
lot, the
points
answer was
were
there's a lot more
discussed.
incumbent upon you if you go into this. It's a co-op.
Yeah.
The value is that the money comes down because you take down more work and the risk is spread a bunch
Yes.
amongst a bunch of different
So there is
communities.
a benefit, I mean.
But
their
there's
model
also
is
a risk
their model is
profile
a
that we
good
have to
model.
deal with there.
Yeah, it's a good model, but you just have to remember that you have to change you have to adapt your way of doing business to match it. That's all I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to complain, I was just.
Oh, no, I didn't,
You know,
sorry.
because I didn't want it to, I said that at the committees, I didn't want you to think that we were complaining. It wasn't.
No, I didn't.
If the board wanted us to take that on, we would figure it out. We would just need some time to figure it out, that's all.
We could wait, I mean, to adopt this, whatever policy we're gonna go with, but all those points were discussed at length at these committee meetings. And, we decided that it was best to stay with Wayne for a few reasons. Firstly, because of the administration that would have to happen, if we would change over. There'd be a lot of training. I mean, the $80,000 is not gonna be there, to hire a new police officer. It's gonna be, spent on all this other training and additional work that these, the current employees would have to take on. And, also, there was a lot of peace of mind with Wayne's additional help in processing difficult claims that, we may not get from this IPVC. And also, we mentioned in that meeting that, and like Bobby also mentioned earlier today, Wayne may not be competitive for too much longer against these big corporate or whatever, big groups that have come together, municipalities that have come together and joined as the IPVC. But I think for this coming year, it makes sense to stay with the current program we have now. And that's what we decided at the committee meeting.
The committee has vetted this fully. I feel like this came up, 2 months ago, I think we started talking about this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not certain what else the committee's supposed to do.
Right.
I think the committee's recommendation stands, and I plan to put it up for a vote. And if no one agrees, they can vote against it.
The part of.
And that, there's a reason we have the dollar amount written into the motion to address your concern that, well, maybe that total could change. If that total's $1 off, the motion doesn't stand anymore.
Right.
There's a reason, we even discussed that. It wasn't, because originally what I said is, okay, well, we'll accept the offer from Wayne. And I believe, Brad, it was you said, we're gonna put the dollar amount in there because that locks that in, and if that changes at all, then it again has to come back to us.
Well, if it goes over, I would say. If it's
If
under,
it's cheaper, we'll gladly
if
accept
it's
it.
under, I think you're probably okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if it's over, then that's not what we passed, it's not what we
Yes.
agreed upon. It'd be like
Right, right.
any other issue where we agree to something and then it comes, it's more, let us come back to us.
Right, right, right.
I just have 2 points. The part that I have a big concern with, if we go to co-op, I heard right, I'll be telling you wrong, that if we call for help, there's only 3 people in your organization that handle everybody's complaints.
That's
So
another-
We'll
we're
have
not
a
gonna
team,
get-
we'll have a
we're
team
not gonna get
assigned to
the
us, we
service.
won't have a, with Wayne, it's more like, think about how you have insurance.
Right.
Right, you call your guy is like, I'm your agent,
Only
you're my
3
client.
people to accommodate how many hundreds in the co-op program.
We'll have a team that handles a region.
We're not
You
gonna
know, we
get
put into a
service
pool,
we're getting out.
and the handful of people will be handling a number of clients. It's not like we'll have 3 people on Schiller Park, it's 3 people
No,
on
3 people for
a
everybody.
region, essentially.
And the other part is, we were talking about, we mentioned that our staff could take on the extra burden. I personally don't know how much more they can take on, that we keep asking to do more and more work, without hiring more staff downstairs to alleviate some of the work that they're under right now. And that's gonna eat up to 80,000 plus, and again, we're not gonna get the service we're used to.
Well, they did assure us that the team that they would assign to us would address our needs. But I just know that they don't go as in-depth. I just know that from experience. But they do provide support from that team. In other words, whenever you call, they're gonna definitely be there. They'll try to help you out, and they will help out. But it's just different. It's not quite as deep.
This isn't a bad, I feel like it's sort of been characterized as a bad, good situation. It's certainly not.
Right.
It's 2 choices
It's just
along.
different.
There's 2 choices along a continuum. And the committee is, I feel, vetted and made a suggestion about where in the continuum I think fits the village's budget as well as the village's risk profile. In terms of, there is a potential that if you go with a co-op, we may get a refund at the end of the year. We also may not, and we also may be impacted if we happen to have a bad year with claims, that the next year, the offers that we get from them is far different to account for what we did to the co-op the year before.
And it happens with our current one too. I mean, if we have a bad year, it does reflect on that too, so. But at the same time, I feel that we need to see that renewal letter, that official renewal letter. I just feel that we should do that. You know, as I said, this $80,000 is a lot of money. And we have time to talk about this for, I know you think it's been rehashed, but I just feel
Why is
that,
this coming up now?
you know.
This has been available to us for about 2 months, and
Because
originally Rob brought it to us to say, here's an option to look at, is I think we were ready to say, renewal with
Because
Wayne, let's
I
go. and-
reviewed your committee minutes and
Sure.
I went over other information, so I have a right to look at things
Of course you do.
afterwards.
Of course.
You guys do what you want, but I'm sorry, I wouldn't feel comfortable going with it.
I think we have 2 contracts in front of us. I mean, I know you're saying a renewal letter.
It's
but
right
these are-
here.
These are contracts. This is a contract from Wayne, and this is a contract from the Gallagher.
4B, I think.
Right.
4C.
Those are
You have
contracts.
it.
We don't need a renewal letter.
Dated May 23rd with
The
the
renewal
number
letter is a
that,
formality, but this is a contract right here.
The match is-
That's a letter from Wayne, it's not a letter from Blue Cross Blue Shield.
And Brad just explained how this is official. They're both official.
figures?
Well, they both said it was, these were actual proposals,
Right.
but the mayor's right, the typical process then is that the Blue Cross would follow up with the
That's
letter.
formalities, right?
Yes, yes, so
When we do get
all
the
that
letter-
needs to be done.
When we get to the renewal letter, I'll vet the renewal letter, the price, compare it to the prior renewal letter to make sure.
Yes,
Obviously, I have to go and take it all.
Sure.
yes,
So
yes.
if anything comes up, I'll let you know if there's any discrepancy, I'll do it.
Could I offer 2 cents here? I wasn't, not able to attend the finance committee meeting. I think that it's been vetted by them, and we should go with their recommendation. I am one that does not want to spend the $84,000 additional. But I think we waste too much time with this, putting it back into committee, and I am one that's guilty of that with the license committee. We can only hash this over so many times, and I'm comfortable with the fact that we're going to get the letter that we're looking for, and there really isn't any need to delay it. And a comment regarding staff. Well, the discussion was going on, I tried to pull up, there was a memorandum from the auditor, which I can't find in the Dropbox, but it was in there. I'm sure other people may have seen it, which were recommendations, a recommendation letter, restating items that, from the previous audit, that we did not address.
Oh,
and
that's a
we-
management letter you're talking
Yes.
about. Yeah, that would probably, it's probably still in the committee folder for administration.
I
administrative
tried
finance.
looking there too,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
anyway,
Okay,
my point is, it appears to me that we are short-staffed because we are lacking in cross-checking dollar things, collection monies, et cetera, et cetera. And I totally disagree with the fact that the staff presently could take on this area. They probably would, but something would suffer. And I don't want to see a management letter come next year saying for the second year or third year in a row that we have not addressed some of these issues. And it's my opinion that we need more people, another person at least, to try and close up the gaps that we presently have. So I'm in favor of going with the committee's recommendation on this. I think we beat it to death. Thank you.
And just to finish Larry's conversation there, as far as staff, I mean, we're currently going through a lot of change. With our finance department, we have a, I don't want to say it in front of Roger, but we have a good finance director. And he's actually doing a lot of changes over there, and I don't think we have room to give him any additional, labor over there. It's just, we're going through a lot of change, a lot of good change that's gonna be reflected well into the future, so I don't think we're gonna do additional work this year. Wait until next year.
Okay, Brad, move on.
oh, yes, okay. Sounds like, I should have taken the count, that dead air. Okay, so the next one, I'm just going to ask Fire Chief to describe this one. This is your idea to be a little proactive
We need to
concerning.
go to
You
number
don't want to
5.
skip over one of my
Oh, wait a
favorite
minute.
topics, do
Oh,
we?
I'm sorry. You know what? I'm sorry. I checkmarked ahead of time. I guess I'm trying to move along quicker. Okay, never mind. We'll backtrack to number 5. We don't want to miss number 5. Okay, the Bark Park. Since our Facilities, Recreation, and Parks Director, he's dealing with a family matter right now, I'd like to ask Brian to explain this. This is bringing this back after John had a chance to double check and get some updated quotes, right? And specs for this.
Yeah, as the board may recall, last year this was discussed. The board decided to defer action on this for the year. And John had once again requested the money this year, and it is in the budget for $20,000, and that's the amount that he's asking for. He briefed Eric Oscarson and myself earlier today, and knowing that he wasn't going to be able to be here tonight to talk about this. Yeah, I think he did a pretty good job in his memo of explaining the reasoning here, but this is a dog park that is being used a lot. It's popular with the residents, and it's pretty muddy, and basically it just comes down to make it really usable for the public. We feel like it's worthwhile to spend this money here, and I think John did a good job of showing how we went through the different processes. There's a couple different proposals in your Dropbox showing you different things. I know that he's spoken to Trustee Klug as head of the Recreation Committee about some of this, so that you would be familiar with it as well. I don't know if Eric has anything or Trustee Klug has anything to add, but that's sort of where we're at with it at the moment.
I think this is a joint effort of the Recreation and Public Works Department, isn't it, Eric? So, and that's part of what we're doing to try to keep some of the costs down, kind of part contract and part in-house. Is that working?
Yeah, so it's a joint effort. Public Works Department will be doing all the prep work, so we'll be doing excavation, adding some drain tile to alleviate the water issues over there, placing some gravel and some stone to try to chase the water over the days of that house.
Okay.
And then,
Yeah, go ahead.
if I may, I met with John quite at length yesterday because of his personal family problems. And he bid it out last year at $25,000. We rejected it. This year's $20,000. It's like twice the coverage of the area. It's going to get done now because of some ideas that Eric came up with. And Eric came up with some ideas to help move the water away with the drain piles. So we are definitely getting a way better product this year for a lot less money than last year. Yes. Because there's cooperation between the two, all the prep work you're going to be doing and all the finished work they're going to be doing when you come in, yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments on that one? Okay. So then the next one, okay, now we're at the one where you came to me saying, hey, let's maybe address this situation a little bit ahead of time now regarding the proposed retirement of good old ladder truck number 454.
Right, so we've talked about this at the committee and at the budget meetings of looking to replace our ladder truck. We have had it appraised by a couple of vendors. It's at its peak right now. It should be in your Dropboxes comparables to what it is. And in talking with our village mechanic, our staff, it seems to be in our best interest at this point that we do begin to advertise it, because certainly it's a specialized piece of equipment that not everybody needs. But yet we want to begin that advertising process, declaring it as surplus. That money that we do sell it for will be applied towards the new ladder truck. Are there any questions?
This $150,000, that's a final offer?
Well, that's what one of the offers is near that. We can certainly look to see getting more. If we were to actually go out and advertise it on the open market across the entire United States, they said that we have the potential of getting up to $200,000 for it, but we kind of have a $150,000 offer that's kind of on the table now.
What I would add to what Pete just said is that essentially what the board would be doing tonight is authorizing Brad to supervise the process with Pete, primarily doing all the legwork, I would imagine, on doing the sales of the truck. Now, obviously, we'll try to get the best deal that we can, but your role would be in authorizing that, us to go ahead and do that.
I was just thinking maybe we can get an extra 20,000 or so, maybe we can find 80,000 that were missing from the healthcare, 20,000.
Well, that's certainly worth considering, and, I just wanted to clarify what you're authorizing tonight is not a specific dollar amount, but rather just, this piece just trying to give you a flavor of what we could get for it. And I think, obviously we'll try to, with Brad's supervision and involvement, get the best deal we can.
I'm kind of leaning toward getting proposals, but I'm certainly open to, further information if this is approved. And
Yeah,
I'm authorized to do this.
Yeah, our concern is also that the longer we wait, we'll continue to depreciate, number one, and the likelihood of it breaking down and then costing a significant amount of money to be dumped into it to make it readily available to sell decreases what our return on that vehicle will be.
So if this was approved tonight, we could get moving on this. Probably should do it pretty quickly.
Yes, I would work with you on that.
Did we put the order in for the new truck yet?
No, we have not.
No, we're not that far along. We want to deal with old red first before we deal with new. Okay, anything else on that? Any other questions? That's no small item. Okay, and this next one is a topic, possibility of another Class A liquor license beyond the 13 that are now, I believe we've verified that, active in the community. In response to this application from the team that's proposing the Lollipops lounge and bar up there at, on Lawrence Avenue, where the Eclipse used to be. So what I tried to do here was, since this has come up multiple meetings, and I tried to summarize in this cover memo, how this thing played out, the kind of back and forth of questions and the submittals, the changes in the submittals, the way that the applicant has adapted to requests of the committee. There's certainly been some of that, and then came back again finally on Monday night with, I guess you could say, hopefully the final committee consideration on this for your consideration as the full board tonight. And there's another, so I kind of look at it this way, and I'll just leave it up to any questions or comments, but I kind of look at it this way. The way I saw the vote come out of the committee was that, it was a recommendation of approval, but it was kind of heavily laden with the notion that there should be a lot of eyes watching what goes on over there, given how the dialogue and how the proposal had been scrutinized over the course of those meetings, including, the police department, in some ways keeping an eye, as they do on other locations around town, fire inspectors, building inspectors, and let's not forget the fourth part of that is the liquor commissioner herself. She has concerns about this and wants to make sure this is right. In independent discussions I had with her outside of those meetings. And then I would say there's another one, there's even a fifth part of this that we shouldn't forget, and that is the owner. Nick Dudevsky and Susan, they have made a promise at more than one occasion publicly that they will ensure that their tenant lives up to what they have agreed to in any lease agreements and any even verbal agreements about what's to go on there and what's not to go on over there. And he's not here tonight because he said he couldn't be in town, but he knows this is coming up tonight. So he's another one that I think should be held to the standards of this, and he says he has no problem being held accountable for that. And he said things that had happened previously at the Eclipse, he would not tolerate happening again. He learned from that. So that's the other thing to consider. That's not an official thing, but it's part of, ownership is a big part of this too. So anyway, that's just kind of my take on it, but any comments or questions, now's the time.
I want to thank you, Brad. I think your synopsis and your memorandum that you provided us with regarding this subject covered it very well. So I'm sure the board members all read that and will make the right decision when it comes to voting on this decision. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thanks. All right, so the next one, This is a police station basement drainage repair. This one is just, again, something that John Beeler's been working on, but it's just an ongoing effort to try to keep that place dry. It's one of the things also going on in conjunction with, I'll be talking later about, during my management report, about other things that we're doing to comply with what needs to be done in that building. But this is just another thing to try to drain water away and keep that place as safe and constituted as much as we can. We don't want any more water damaging things, right, Chief? You have anything to add, either Brian or?
You know, John did brief us on this as well,
Yeah.
and, you know, he basically explained what's in the memo and what Brad just said, that, you know, there's something that we probably should take care of, and, you know, it is a concern if we don't deal with it, and, you know, we're losing storage space down there right now because we can't really put stuff there because it's getting wet and everything, so we want to try to make sure that we have as much, you know, control over what's going on down there as we can.
Yeah, the big difference with this is this isn't only plugging up leaking locations, which is what they primarily have been doing before. This is actually a drain, kind of a mini drain tile placement that will be on kind of the, I guess you could say on the north, I should say on the west side of the basement, adjacent to the fire station building on the other side. As you know, that's also been an issue with water coming through. So we're hoping that this will be just one more thing to help at least keep these buildings going as long as we can.
Brad, real
Yes.
briefly, the cover memo mentions the number's about $7,000, and then when it comes up under committee, it says not to exceed 6. I mean, unless I'm missing something.
I'll defer to,
Item eight.
since John was fine tuning these in the days after we had this posted, I'll defer to you, Brian. What is the number?
Cover memo number 8 says about $6,900, and then it says not to exceed 6.
Yeah, if you look on page 3 of the cover memo packet, that there's the proposal, that the $6,963.60. So that would be the correct.
That's the correct, okay. So who is this?
So if you want to go with
Perma
that-
seal.
Public Works.
So if you do make the motion, you
It's
want to
under
go with an
Public
exact
Works.
number, you could do it. Yeah.
Larry, you have Public Works today, right?
I do.
Okay.
How about not to exceed 7,000?
You could just do that if you wanted to.
Thank you.
That would be nice. Give us a little wiggle room. Okay, probably gone over that enough. And the next one, this is one we did talk about in the committee of the whole about the HVAC roof replacement. And we clarified that even though the agenda says Hill Mechanical, it's actually Bedco Mechanical. And I think the quote is 9,400, not 12,000. Again, that was one that we fine-tuned in the last few days. If I'm wrong on that, please let me know, but any questions or comments on that one? Okay. Okay, and then this next one, this was also an idea that Rob brought to us concerning fines and fees that are assessed and that we need to collect. You want to elaborate on that, Rob?
Yeah, just speaking with the records clerk downstairs since I've got here, I think we're having a problem with collecting on citations. And there might be a portion of the public in Schiller Park here that know we don't follow up when they don't pay on a ticket. Talking to Patty in the clerk's department, she said that she would estimate that about only 50% of citations are currently being paid right now. That leaves a couple $100,000 per year of revenue sitting on the table. Not only concerned about the revenue part, but also have a concern about people not complying. In general, I think, we probably talk to some of the police officers, they know that they're writing some tickets at times, and they're not gonna be paid. So I think I would recommend us, just like most other villages do in the area, use a collection agency to then collect on these debts where the offender doesn't show up for court or pay the ticket.
So I would ask the village board to authorize or approve an ordinance for the village to authorize an administrative fee. So when we do collections, this administrative fee will then be paid directly to the collection agency. So if we send them a $100 ticket to collect on, we will get $100 back. And then the offender will then pay that administrative fee, which should be around 30%.
So I think tonight it would be considering your recommendation, or on behalf of the staff, that we actually expand our
Collection.
potential use of contractual collection on a contingency basis.
Correct. Everything is on
And then
contingency
follow
basis.
up at the next meeting with an ordinance that would allow that fee for that to be on the fine itself, basically, that's it?
Yes, I think it'll tremendously help us.
Or I should say
with
on the
revenue
collection,
portion,
yeah.
But as well as compliance and getting people to park when they're supposed to park, or,
Yeah.
pay ambulance user fees that they're not paying, code enforcement fees, water bills, so on and so forth. False alarm fees as well. So I think there's a lot of, it's not only just parking, it's a wide
Yes.
array of services that we offer that people aren't paying on.
I wanted to add, we have been doing collections for a number of years on the red light tickets.
Yes.
But that's a very limited thing. And, I would add that some of the board members that have been here for a while would remember we went to the booting process a number of years ago to try to address this, and that's been somewhat successful in some cases, but I think Rob's done a great job with bringing this forward, because this will fill in a lot of the gaps right now where we aren't able to get to the people, because, if they move out of town, or, they don't live in town in the first place, or whatever, we can't get to them through the boot. Yeah, they park through the car in the garage, we can't get to them. There's all kinds of ways the boot has been successful in some of the cases, sure, but there's a lot of areas where this would really help us, and as Rob pointed out, even beyond the parking.
Rob, approximately how much additional income do you see from this?
Well, I would think that we would send to the collection agencies approximately maybe $300,000 of various local fines, ordinance violations. From that, I would estimate maybe a third to 30 or about 30-40%. So hopefully to get maybe a little over 120,000 a year on that, as well as to know that the officers would appreciate it, that they know that when they write a ticket that
So that's my
there's
perfect
safety in that.
example. Instead of you spending time messing around with healthcare claims, you were able to come up with this program that's gonna bring us an additional $120,000 of income.
Hopefully,
And
yeah.
that's exactly what I'm talking about. Those are the kind of changes that are happening in our finance department right now, that are, so impacting and so positive. And it's already shadowing the 80,000 that we're probably gonna pay additional in this, that's just one program. So that's exactly what I'm referring to right there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very briefly, this was
Please.
an item that also went through committee. And we had a really productive meeting with that executive from Stein and Shine. And the thing that sort of pushed me over were two items. One is just how much money we had outstanding. I had no idea it was that much. And I think over time, you're going to see a lessening of that amount. Maybe not from we'll collect what we can backwards looking. But I think going forward, knowing that the village has got some teeth with this, and it does, as mentioned, it respects the time of the officer who's writing the ticket. And I think it lets someone know, like, okay, they're gonna, and there's, it might be apocryphal, but the stories of somebody getting a ticket and throwing it on the ground. So, and also it's, when you hear collection agency, it sounds really draconian, and like the village or government's coming out for you. We wouldn't pass this along to someone until they've received multiple issuances of the same ticket with increased fines, and at least 6 months or so before we would even get it passed along. So a lot of the concerns I think people may have were ameliorated by the discussion we had with the representative from Stein and Shine.
And our goal really isn't to send people to collections. We just
Not
want
at
you
all.
to comply, pay your ticket if you get one. But hopefully you know that if you do have a violation, that you will have to end up paying it.
I think it's
Hopefully
restoring the
it
sort
is
of equilibrium between issuing the ticket and finding payment for it at the same
Correct.
time. Thanks.
Okay, anything else on that one? Okay. The next one, parkway planters and banners. I'm gonna ask Eric O. to explain this one. This was something we talked about with the mayor, and just part of the appearance of the community, and also a possibility of renewing a business partnership with Main Street establishments. Anyway,
So what this is an attempt to get, to improve the look of Irving Park Road and the other streets within the community, working with the local businesses.
Kind of hard to hear you, could
You
you?
kind of hold it up to your,
You have to kind of aim it straight, it's directional, yeah.
It's a little messy today.
Unless it's not working.
That mic was made for like rappers, so you gotta.
No, hold it up.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right, it does seem like that.
So the intent of this is to, in a lot of communities you see flowers along Main Street, flowers along main areas, some type of beautification along the main stretches of street. And a proposal was brought to us by Russo at first to add some flower pots along the railings along Irving Park Viaduct, with them putting up some banners for some kind of advertisement for their company. We at first took it on as just their banners going up. During talks with staff, we had discussed that we needed it to make them look pretty, take it down a notch and make it look something more of what Schiller Park looked like. So something on it that would say that was the Village of Schiller Park on there with then a name, something like the 100th anniversary celebration. So something more where it's a uniform look going down the street instead of a bunch of different colors going down. We didn't want it to be a mishmash. So we're working with a banner company now to put together a template that would have the Village of Schiller Park logo on it and then something with Russo on it above it. And we're hoping this is a pilot program. Right now Russo's offering to fund the planting of the flowers along the viaduct, but what could this turn into down the road of adding some more plantings or some other ideas that businesses might have to improve the look of the downtown and the main streets of the community. So this would be our first step to get some more input from the businesses. And we've also discussed taking this to the Chamber of Commerce and having them be a bigger part of this. They have to reach out to the businesses. So businesses that just aren't on Irving Park Road would have the opportunity to sponsor some flowers within the area. And obviously the sponsorship would be put on the businesses. They're covering most of the costs of this. For the plantings and the flowers, we handle some maintenance of them. But this is just an idea moving forward that we wanted to bring to the board to get some input on. We feel something that, in the end, would improve the look of the downtown area.
We're also trying to make this more of a community affair too. With the planters, we were trying to see if we could get people to volunteer to come out and plant the flowers. Russo's was going to pay for the flowers, and then I didn't hear that they were going to plant them too, but.
No, the idea would be they would provide
Right.
they provide the plant material, which is the biggest expense for a project like this, is the actual plant materials themselves. They would provide that. We would provide the planters because the planters would be reused year after year. They would become the property of the Village of Schiller Park. We own the planters, but they'd be providing the plant material on an annual basis. Same thing if we were to move forward with anything else. If we were to provide any kind of pots or hanging baskets that would be along the downtown strip, those would be the property of the Village of Schiller Park. The plantings themselves would be sponsored by the companies. And if this does go further, we would be looking to get a wholesale plant supplier to provide the plant material to us to reduce costs and then have a planting. So we'll see what happens moving forward.
And again, we're looking to do both Irving Park and Lawrence Avenue, to start with the viaducts over there to make it look more presentable, prettier for the summer, but also to get more people involved in the village and make it a community event. So if we can, get people out there to help plant the flowers. We have a community garden now, which goes very well. So we'd like to get more people. I know there's seniors out there that love to plant and give them something to do. And we get people out there to help. So hopefully we can move this forward.
Okay. And I think, by the way, one of the thoughts Eric had about the planning was, and maybe the fire chief would have to be brought in on this too, is maybe stage the actual planting, or the actual placement of the flowers and the planters, actually, maybe in the fire station bay. People don't have to stand there underneath the viaduct to plant these flowers, is what we're talking about. Have some kind of gathering of people here, you know, just an idea, you know.
The number says it's only for every park.
We were looking at Lawrence Avenue. Eric knows about that.
Russo's contribution will
Right,
only be on
Russo's
Irving Park.
contribution will be only.
They can't advertise on Lawrence, so it'd be on Irving.
They could.
I mean, they
There's
could.
no better keeper.
They could, but they don't want to.
And so that's why we're opening up too. There may be other businesses on Lawrence Avenue that might want to contribute to flowers.
Yes.
And then they would in turn be able to get land back.
Okay. If there's nothing else on that, okay, then the topographic digital mapping, and I'm going to ask Patrick to talk about that, because he put a recommendation in there for us to consider, and how this fits in with what we have done already with GIS mapping. That would be nice if you could kind of fold that into your comments.
Sure. So, of course, probably a couple, 3 months ago, the village engaged Ayers and Associates to do some aerial mapping, an orthophoto, aerial photo, and some planimetric data to enhance the GIS and the line work, the buildings and sidewalks and buildings and such with the GIS. In conversations I had with Ayers, it turned out that in 2014 they flew the village basically on spec with a different type of flight where the instrumentation is intended to gather elevation information. It's what's called a LiDAR flight. They just did it on their own, hoping someday that somebody would have use for the data, and they basically be able to sell it. Well, as it happens, we find ourselves right now at the ideal point where we can really use some very high quality, precise elevation data, because very shortly a map revision is going to be submitted to FEMA, and it's in our best interest to make sure that that map revision is based on the most accurate elevation data that we can find. So right now, everything that Burke's office has put together is using the county's elevation data. That's at a county-wide scale. This was already flown at a much more local scale. It basically has, however you want to say it, twice the precision or half the error that the elevation data that the county has. And so the accuracy of this is roughly a quarter of a foot vertically. So it's very good elevation information. So my recommendation, they quoted us $7,100 to do the processing and reduction to create the various data products that would all be incorporated into our GIS, as well as given to Burke's office for the inundation mapping that would go to FEMA. And I can tell you from experience that the local topographic data has all sorts of uses for the engineering side. Drainage complaints, preliminary engineering studies. We use this all the time in all the communities that we work in, so it's very useful information. So my recommendation would be that we authorize Ayers Associates to reduce that LiDAR data and provide the digital elevation data outlined in their quote not to exceed $7,100.
As an example, I remember when we were at the Crystal Creek floodplain meeting, there was some discussion about, you know, when an individual resident, let's say, or a family has a property and they need to verify some of this, they might have to get a survey of their own lot. Is it possible that this kind of information could, in some cases, negate that need, or at least enhance the information from such an effort? Someone's exploring that?
All of the above.
Okay.
So the more precise we get these maps, the fewer people will be left inadvertently mapped in the floodplain. Mm-hmm. So the discussion we had at that open house was that there's always going to be an edge of floodplain someplace, and some folks are just going to be barely in or just barely out. And in that case, you can always have a surveyor come out and do some local surveying of your particular property and try and get really precise, and then get that back to FEMA. The more accurately we get the FEMA maps the first time around, the fewer people there will be that are inadvertently mapped in and then forced to go out of pocket for, you know, it could be $1,000 each to try and have that
local survey work done to get their structure removed from the floodplain. So, you know, the 7,000 that the village spends here, you know, I don't doubt that there's 7, 8, 10, 15, 20 homes that might additionally get mapped out with a more refined elevation.
Patrick, is Ayers the only company that does this?
No, definitely not. There are a number of other companies that do it. Ayers happens to be the ones that already have the data. They've already flown it. So this is simply reducing it. It would be much more expensive for somebody else now to get in the air, fly it, collect the information, and then do the same reduction. But they're not the only firm that does the work.
So they can't take what they did, what Ayers did, the aerial, and another company take that information, right?
Well, Ayers owns this information. They flew it on their own
Right.
volition.
I just want to make sure. Thanks.
Good question.
Briefly, my only request on this is, given that it's not explicitly noted in the budget, it's just properly deducted from whatever fund we pull it from.
Yeah, we probably added to like, we have a line for GIS database services, so it'll end up going with the budget, but we never much in here.
Sure, as long as it's, as long as we're just making up an item. Just want to note that. There's a little, it's not totally clear, it's, you know, it's in budget, but it's not explicitly noted.
Right. Yeah, there's another line on there that's, what is it, 661 and 660? 616.
616.
Okay, I'm dyslexic. Okay, then I'm dyslexic, but yeah, we had, I think when we looked at that, we were looking at that too, and we were thinking, you know, when you look at those professional services, I know we did build in a little bit of leeway there in case things came up, so we're hopeful that it wouldn't even need to be, other than as a matter of ratification at the end. We're hoping that it doesn't really push anything way over the, you know, over the budget for that fund.
By our sense information, hopefully it'll lower other professional costs if they've got surveyors going out there and that.
Yeah.
So it'll save us money in other areas and not to find out.
Right. Thank you. Okay, so I can't think of anything else. Oh, other than to just say that I mentioned this in the committee of the whole, that there is one additional resolution that's at the, it shows up in the later section of the meeting that has to do with the annual meetings approval for the village board up for consideration. It really wasn't something that required discussion. I don't think there's been any proposed change in the Thursday night, 1st and 3rd. That's still on there. That's it for Mayor, for committee of the whole discussion items. I could jump down here to the committees. There are, we already talked about some of these items that are coming out of committee, but I know that Trustee Brzezinski, our Community Development Director, Eric T., there is a meeting tomorrow, right? Regarding a couple items. Yeah, in the 10:30. Let's see. I don't think any other committee meeting.
And in finance, I think
is
it's
set.
talked about everything that we just went through.
Right.
We're covered.
In detail.
Right. So I guess, Mayor, we're on to the staff comments. Village engineer, you have anything?
Wait, Brian.
Brian's researching.
It's hot over here.
Just a couple items. Sioux Line Lane, all the underground work is done, the water main is in service. We had a brief snafu with the contractors. His concrete sub kind of pulled out on him. They did the right thing. They found another sub. They brought him in. We'll be back up and running out there with curb work and concrete work starting Tuesday of next week. The completion date, weather permitting, is I want to say July 5th. So we told them that there are problems with their subs, doesn't give them any extra time on this, so they scrambled and found somebody else to do the work. So we do expect still to have that done shortly after the holiday. Road work, curb work, everything substantially complete. And then very briefly, My signal folks were able to coordinate with IDOT. We got reports and also observed there was a pretty bad backup in the PM rush at Wesley and Irving Park. We got in touch with IDOT. They let us go out there and reprogram a little bit, give basically from 3:30 to 4:45. There's a touch more green time for Wesley now. So hopefully that alleviates that without backing things up too much on Irving Park. And we'll observe it now that it's been changed and make sure that we didn't make anything worse. That's all I have.
Are there any other meetings coming up in Franklin Park for the floodplain maps or
No,
anything?
no,
Okay.
there's no further public meetings scheduled for the floodplain maps. I did get in touch with Burke's office today, and I think next week they plan to finally actually submit to the IDNR. And I'm sorry, I should have mentioned, this additional elevation information is not going to slow that process down at all. We'll get the information in. The DNR is not looking at that elevation information, so while the DNR is chewing on that letter of map revisions, we'll get this elevation information in and then send that in to FEMA.
Eric?
In the Dropbox, I had a cover memo. I just want to bring everybody's attention. There will be a zoning hearing on the hostess buildings for a variation. The memo says Wednesday, July 7th. Obviously, that's not right. It should have been Wednesday, July 6th. What hostess bridge development group needs is a variation to allow the parking to fit on the site. Matter of fact, we met with them yesterday regarding the preliminary site plans, and it's very early in their process, but everybody seems to be on the same page at this particular point. Demolition has begun or will be ongoing for at least 2, maybe 3 months. The first part that needs to be completed is asbestos removal. If that's not done tomorrow, it'll probably be done early next week. In another piece of information, the health board will not meet on the first Monday because of the holiday. The second Monday is a previously scheduled planning comp plan meeting, so the health board will be meeting on July 18th.
Wait a minute, the comp plan meeting is when?
Monday, July 11th.
Oh.
Nothing else from finance.
Adding to the flower issue, the beautification of both Irving and Lawrence Avenue, the fire department, the members have applied to IDOT to adopt Lawrence Avenue for beautification also through Schiller Park, where we would volunteer to do cleanup over the next 2 years.
I have one quick thing to mention. As I think I told the board recently, we had hired a GIS intern for the summer to do a lot of work for us on signs. He's going to be doing billboards for Eric's department. He's also going to be working with the water department to do verification of all the water facilities. We intend to have him, this is an internship for him as well as a summer job. He's a student at ISU. He's going to be here at the first meeting in August as one of his final things for the village before he goes back to school, to do a presentation to the board. So I wanted to let you guys all know that he'd be here. Alyssa will be helping him with presenting the work that he's done and showing you the advantage of having all the signs in the database so that we can know where all the stop signs are and all that kind of stuff. So.
Nothing from the police department.
Just a quick note, there's a discussion about American flags in the downtown area. We're working on it, the plan. Everything goes well, hopefully we'll have them up before the 4th.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? I placed in the Dropbox monthly manager's report, and the items that I have in here just to update you that if you have any questions, you can always stop me, call me, or bring it up now if you want. Update on the West Gateway project. You'd have a meeting with the principals of that. Argent Road, and updates on the fact that they've got a preliminary approval of one of the hotel brands. The other is still under consideration due to the fact that there's competing locations for the other. And we're also now working with them on how we can move ahead in terms of timing with some urgency, even though the floodplain map that we've been talking about a little bit tonight and at other times is not yet formally approved. We know the area is dry based on what the engineer study says, but it's not officially yet accepted. So we're working with them, and we'll be hopefully talking with others that might be able to help us with moving that project forward. We also have had discussions continuing with the Canadian Pacific. Eric T. and I have a meeting. I think Eric O. is going to be part of this too next week, where we're just having another little preliminary discussion with the Dream development people about where that's at and what we can do. So hopefully we'll get some progress on that we can report. I don't have anything new on that one at this point. In here I also have the infamous Lawrence Avenue Viaduct pothole. Is a little story on that is in there with some photos. The Sioux Line Lane project that Patrick just mentioned, I've got some photos on that as far as different stages of the progress as I was over there myself watching what was going on. I update everybody on the Department of Labor, Occupational Safety and Health Administration citations and follow-up action that we're taking with these buildings, especially the police station. And it looks like we're getting to the point where we have a final action plan to satisfy the one final item on that list of about a half a dozen violations that they found, and that would be to contain, what they call contain, through epoxy paint and wrapping any exposed area that might have asbestos. So that's where we're finally down to that last item. And again, John Beeler working with others. I thank some of the people like Ed Price and Tom Mann and others that have worked with him to pitch in and get this thing fixed. I think Mario came over here one time too concerning the sump pump problem. I also just did a quick update here on my observation of what's going on in town in terms of construction and remodeling. The numbers do show that the Community Development Department submitted on permits that there is a continuing reinvestment, especially with remodeling in the community. A lot of this is residential, but there are some commercial. So I just showed a couple of examples here of one commercial and one, and of course that's the Super Low Foods facade improvement. I just thought that was an interesting one to point out that's been underway. I also have a little update here on what's and kind of background on the Kennedy School project. There's a photo in there that shows, you know, they've got all the grid work up on it, iron work, and they're continuing the process. I'm going to talk to the superintendent. She had some questions that she wanted to ask me about concerning that project. Hopefully Eric or I can address whatever concerns she may have. Then I also just updated here on a ComEd workshop that the mayor and I went to that was very interesting, including the fact that we had this exhibit there that I had a chance to talk to their team about their remote controlled electrical service for buildings. It's not just metering, but remote control by individuals or by the ComEd if you want that to be the case. And they also said that their research and development team is actually working on meters that might measure and control water service, which I did not know that. So that technology, they may be trying to expand their business there. And I also just show some update here on and photos on the Wall of Honor ceremony, which was very great and moving event back on the May 21st, I think it was, Armed Forces Day, and then the flag retirement ceremony that was just a couple of days ago on Flag Day. Got a photo on that as well. Both of those were at Clock Tower Park, very excellent patriotic kind of ceremonies. And then I also mentioned police and fire events, the Cop on Top, which they raised some pretty good amount of money for the Special Olympics, and then that great ice cream social. I didn't get a photo about the ice cream social because I was too busy sampling the ice cream. Anyway, that's what I've got. If you have any questions about any of those things or anything else, just my ongoing effort to try to keep you updated on things that we don't really necessarily deal with as business here on the dais. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Brad. Okay, elected official comments? Anyone from the board?
I just have a few, try to keep it short, like Bobby says. Matt, I talked to the business Sioux Line, and they're very pleased with the work that's been done. They're very pleased with the cooperation that they got from the contractor as far as trying to get vehicles in and out of all businesses. Nice job by them. Please pass the word on.
Actually, the report I'm getting back from my field guys is, wow, these people are really great to work with. They've really been cooperative, so
Yes.
you can pass that back to the businesses.
Working together.
But I was just there to move along very quick. I was glad to hear a report about the finish date and everything else, so I'm very happy with that. Eric, thank you again for your help with the dog park. It seems like we're getting more stuff there for dogs at less money than we were last year because of your cooperation and the guys. Okay, and thanks for flags. The American Legion appreciates it. That's all.
Anyone else?
I do. I have one brief comment and 2 questions. It was offered up, but we weren't going over it. Go ahead.
I didn't hear it, though. I'm away.
Go ahead.
I'm like, never mind.
I don't know if this is the right time. I talked to Margot about some of the bills issue, and rather than slow us down, I know Patrick would be more than happy to take a check for $211,848.30.
Ouch.
But,
That check will be cut to the contracts. It's in the listing.
okay, so how do we handle that?
When we process the checks, it's gonna write vendor. It's just the report came out wrong. I think because what happens is Pat gives it off to her, he lets us know that it's okay to pay, and then she just saw that.
Well, she showed, his letter was on top, and his address.
Yeah, but the check will be written to the contractor.
Nice try.
He's got good Cubs tickets, so we're trying to swap. So.
Okay, that's all I have.
Funny.
One comment, 2 questions. Comment, I know they were mentioned in the consent agenda last week, but we did 2 former police officers, Schiller Park left. I thought they deserved a little more recognition than just that. One was Dan Cook, who's a 30-year veteran of the force, who's moving on. Quite a lot of years of service here. And the other one was John Shue. And John is leaving us to work for the FBI. And I think that's an incredible honor. And it shows the sort of character that's emblematic of the people who work in that department. Let another reply for them, not me. The 2 questions. The first question I have is if someone could give me some color around the state of the Metro lot and all the vans that seem to be overtaking it.
Yes. Brian knows the story.
I'd be happy to, Trustee Lima. A short time ago, I think it was really the middle of May, we reached agreement with a company that is now operating across from Hubcaps. It's in the business of renting vans to, I guess, primarily out-of-town people. And we had previously made a lot available because we have so many spaces unused there on a regular basis that we had made it available to one of the manufacturing companies over there. And after a while, they had just decided they didn't need it anymore, so that they stopped using it. So basically, we have about 50 spaces that we can easily make available. So I told him, look, I couldn't do any more than 50. He wanted to see if he could maybe get more than that. I said, no, we've got to leave at least 50 for the commuters, even though we usually only have about, at the most, 25. But I wanted to make sure there was plenty of room for the commuters and for the dog park. So basically, we reached agreement with them at the same rate as the previous renter, at $20 a space per month. So it's $1,000 a month that we're getting additional revenue. And quite frankly, the metro station does not pay for itself because the revenue we get out of the parking there is not sufficient to cover the heating costs of the building, the maintenance of the landscaping, all the other expenses that we have with the metro parking machines and the repairs on those and so forth. So we felt that was a good opportunity to make some additional revenue. It's designed to be potentially a short-term agreement. you know, from what I understand, he's talking to other places about getting a more permanent solution in place. So, you know, we basically could terminate it at 30 days notice. He could terminate it 30 days notice to us, or we could terminate it at 30 days notice to him. So that was sort of the intent of it, was to try to help a local business that's trying to, you know, get himself going and also bring in some additional revenue. So I hope that sort of explains it adequately.
Sure, yeah, it's
But
fine.
if you have any additional questions.
Yeah, are we collecting a rental fee? My understanding is he's not just using, we're getting a parking fee,
Right.
essentially.
Yeah, we're getting a lease.
My understanding is we collect a fee on anyone who rents cars, right? Like Enterprise, we get
Right,
a fee.
and I believe that
collecting-
Rob's department is aware of that, and Eric's department is aware of that. We're trying to address that, the potential for making sure he's aware of all the local taxes he should be paying.
And is that within our ordinances to allow a rental facility to sort of be quasi-operating out of there?
Well, all
I
he's
think
doing
the
is
problem
parking
is,
there.
it seems, it's kind of off-putting, right? To have the whole lot be filled with all these similar-looking vans. And
Yeah, I certainly understand that there might be some concern. I think we felt that it was outweighed by the amount of revenue. It's, you know, potentially $12,000 a year, which otherwise we wouldn't have had. And, you know, the metro lot isn't near residential areas really, so, you know, it's not like the residents are really looking at that as far as, you know, on a day-to-day basis. So given all those factors, we felt it was a reasonable arrangement. But like I said, if we decided we could end it at 30 days notice to him if we wanted to.
as long as we for sure look into the rental fee and treat them, they shouldn't be treated any differently than any other car rental
Well,
service in
absolutely
town.
not.
It,
You know,
it sort of
Eric
appears as
Rob-
though it's them and then everybody else.
You know, Eric and Rob, we were already looking into that once this came up, that it'd be evaluated to make sure that they're complying with the parking tax, the automobile leasing tax, all the other taxes. Make sure they have the appropriate forms to report those and all that. And that is, the vehicle stickers is another thing as well, yes. So all these things are being looked into. It's a new business. He's new to the community. So we want to make sure that we, you know, work with him in a positive way, at least until he demonstrates that he's not willing to do the appropriate things.
Sure. And then last question, promise. What do we know about the constructions going on north of Wally Park? It looks to be pretty significant.
I went back up there. All I've been able to determine at this particular point is that it's earth grading. It looks like it's regrading in perhaps preparation for construction of a building or two, but I haven't been able to confirm anything specific, unfortunately. Trustee Lima.
Sure. Do they have to have permits for? Is that a permit needing activity? Because I know that property's tricky, right? Because it's within Schiller Park's boundaries, but it's Chicago's.
Just talking with the Public Works Director about that earlier, and we may, because it is a grading issue, we may have an ability to get in there and ask more specific questions. We will definitely explore that quickly.
Yeah, it's a little off-putting to see just a giant amount of earth get moved around and us not totally knowing what's going on.
Correct, and it's tough because they were first using Scott Street as their access point, and they still are, so we have some control because we provide access to a lot, but we can't not provide access to a lot. So we're in a tough situation there. It is the city of Chicago that owns the property, and that's all part of that Westgate deal going on, so we're kind of in a tight situation. I know Eric Tyson's working on, we're trying to figure out what's going on there, and then also trying to contact City of Chicago and find out what they're doing there, so.
Thank you.
Being looked into.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you need to, on that particular point, I mean, if we need to contact the aviation commissioner or assistant commissioner, let me know. I was just talking to them about something else today, so that's our main contact. If there's something, if it has to do with the Department of Aviation in Chicago, I know who to call. I know where they're at. So
I would
let me
encourage
know.
you to.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. No, I think we should know because that is within our jurisdiction.
It may be
Absolutely.
but it's within
the deal
our
isn't over yet with the Argent and West Gateway.
Far
We do
south
have
of
to, and we
Boston.
do have to handle it carefully. I totally agree with you, but at the same time, they need to know what the rules
But
are.
they need to be neighbors to us as well.
Yes, it goes both ways. Yep.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
I just have one question for Brian. The Metro, Is there a spot check to make sure he doesn't exceed 50 or?
Yes, we have.
Past there, and it seemed like they just blown up the numbers.
Yeah, we did find him exceeding the total slightly, by, I think he was in the 60 range a couple different days. And he's been instructed that, he may feel like that's not a big deal, but to us it is a big deal. He was told, and I made it clear, Shabir Patel has been over there talking to him about this, and I made it clear to Shabir that he should make it clear to him that, we cannot, he may think that's not a big issue, but it is a big issue. It really needs to stay at 50. My understanding, Shabir's been out there double checking that every day since to make sure that, that message got through. I have not heard from him in a negative way about that since this week, so I believe that, I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, that issue is behind us, because obviously it would be a problem for our relationship moving forward if that did not stop. And I think it was made clear to him that obviously it's a 30-day termination of the agreement. So, if that kind of, it's going beyond the scope, if it continues, then it would be a problem. So I'm hoping that, like I said, that it's not going to be.
Thank you.
I went by there a few times, and it looks, to me, it's much better than it was last week. It looks like he's parking where he's supposed to, which is those two sections, a little bit to the south, a little bit to the north, leaving space for the park people, and leaving space in the middle for the actual Metro commuters. And then, of course, way at the south end are those monthly commuters also. Yeah.
I personally have no problem, trying to help on the business, but I don't want to be taken advantage of either. Okay.
Eric, and he's still going through with pursuing the first choice building, correct?
I haven't heard from him, but he's at the top of my call list tomorrow morning. He did come in and talk to me about it, yes, absolutely.
By the way, since Wally Park's name was mentioned, Rob, that they did come in and you had them pay.
Yeah, they're fairly current on last, fiscal year 2015 and now 2016 stickers.
You had them catch up on both, right? Thank you.
And they were selected randomly for the slide audits for the
Yes.
What was their excuse for not buying city stickers on?
They actually no one informed them when they kind of came in that they needed to. So one of the residents kind of brought it up at a board meeting a couple weeks ago or a month ago. So I finally was able to contact someone and play phone tag for a while and contact. So thank you to the resident who.
Oh, you're welcome. Need that money.
To get your cut.
It's not funny.
Find your feet.
Just kidding.
It's not funny. It's not funny. To be a comedian.
Okay, anyone else? Just a reminder that our blood drive is June 21st. That's Tuesday, that's coming up. There is quite a bit of shortage, so we're encouraging everyone to try and do their part to come out and give blood. Also, our July 4th Pet and Kid Parade and Picnic is coming up on July 4th, so I encourage everyone to come out and have a good time with that. It's always a fun time. And we won't have a meeting before that, so, or will we? I don't think so. No. So encourage you to come out. Hopefully you can all be there. Okay, we're going to move on to committee reports for consideration and action. We have public safety, Chairman Diaz.
Madam President, fellow board members, I have one item under the Public Safety Committee. It's just an announcement. Later on the agenda, there is a resolution to declare Tower Ladder Fire Truck number 454 as surplus, so it can be sold or used as traded when purchasing a replacement. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Recreation, Chairman Klug.
Madam President, fellow board members, I want a motion to accept the quote from Perfect Tough Incorporated for service material and labor to improve the Schiller Park in the amount of not to exceed $20,000.
Second.
I have a motion by trustee Klug and a second by trustee Diaz. Call the roll.
Diaz.
Yes.
Klug.
Yes.
Fritz.
No.
Lima.
Yes.
Brzezinski.
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
That concludes my report.
The dogs will be happy. Okay, License Committee, Chairman Fritz.
Madam President, fellow board members, I just have an informational item this evening. Later in the agenda, an ordinance increasing the number of Class A liquor licenses by one for application from K. Tech for lollipops, Lawrence and 98. That concludes my report.
Okay. We have Public Works, and in the absence of Chairman Dezecki, Trustee Fritz agreed to take his committee.
Madam President, fellow board members, Trustee Dezecki has 3 items tonight. First is make a motion to accept the quote on Permaseal in the amount not to exceed $7,000 for the police station basement drainage repair.
Second?
We have a motion by Trustee Fritz. Is that a second by Klug? Trustee Klug, call the roll, please.
Diaz.
Yes.
Klug.
Yes.
Fritz.
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Ordinances.
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
Second item, I make a motion to accept the quote from Bedco Mechanical in the amount not to exceed $9,400 for replacement of the HVAC unit serving the administration department.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Trustee Fritz, a second by Trustee Diaz. Call the roll.
Diaz.
Yes.
Klug.
Yes.
Fritz.
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Ordinances.
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
My last item for Mr. Dezecki, a motion to accept the village engineer's recommendation regarding proposal from Ayers Associates to provide a digital topographic map in the amount not to exceed $7,100.
Second. Okay, motion by Trustee Fritz and a second by Trustee Brzezinski. Call the roll.
Diaz.
Yes.
Klug.
Yes.
Fritz.
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Ordinances.
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
Madam President, all board members, that concludes Trustee Dezecki's long report.
Administration and Finance, Chairman Lima.
Madam President, fellow board members, I have several items this evening. First, I'd like to make a motion to pay the current list of bills in the amount of $585,386.40.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Trustee Lima,
I have
second.
a question about the bill.
Okay.
On the page 5 of the bill, I think on page 5, I'm not pretty sure I understand. Franklin Park Plumbing for $1,155 for work done in 9900 something on Wilson Avenue. Can somebody explain what that's all about, please?
This was we had a call from a resident with regards to a sewer backup that was stated to be in our sanitary main line. And to aid the resident at the time, we were able to open up provide them service so they were not discharging waste into the street. So it was a fee for us to have Franklin Park Plumbing open up their service at that time, so we weren't causing any safety issue for the residents. So that was what part of that fee is for that.
Because it was servicing our main line?
It was a lateral for their home, and at the time they were dumping the sewage out into the street. So it was a safety issue we wanted to resolve, and they were still responsible for fixing it. But we, as a decision that I made, instead of having the sewage be pumped onto the street, we wanted to get the sewer unclogged at that time, and then it's up to them to finish the repair.
Sorry, don't agree. Okay, thank you.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Trustee Lima and a second by Trustee Diaz. Call the roll.
Diaz.
Yes.
Klug.
No.
Fritz.
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Ordinances.
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
Second item, I move to accept the proposal from Sam Gentilizio Insurance for renewal of Blue Cross Blue Shield employee health care for 2016-17 at the same premium as 2015-16, totaling $1,788,548.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by trustee Lima, a second by trustee Diaz. Call the roll.
Diaz.
Yes.
Klug.
Yes.
Fritz.
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Worzynski.
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
Finally, I have a motion to authorize the administration of department staff to negotiate an agreement with Sonnenschein Financial Services to be the collection agency on a contingency basis for past due ordinance fees and fines. And if I could briefly amend also moving forward, not just things that have occurred in the past.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Lima, a second by trustee Diaz. Call the roll.
Diaz.
Yes.
Klug.
Yes.
Fritz.
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Worzynski.
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
Concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, community development, Chairman Korzinski.
Madam President, fellow board members, I have 3 items for your information that later on the agenda is a resolution to support a 6B property assessment incentive request from Skyline Properties for industrial use at 9500 and 9420 River Street, former Atlas Toyota. Also, resolution to approve a 7C property assessment incentive request from Skyline Properties for commercial use at 5050 and 5040 River Road, also former Atlas Toyota. And finally, on the agenda is a resolution to approve a 6B property assessment incentive request from Hudson Avenue Capital for industrial use at 3999 25th Avenue, formerly HPC. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the report for mayor for consideration and action. We're going to do some appointments tonight. There was a request from Tom Fergakis for the police officers to appoint 2 auxiliaries, Marzina Granowski and Asadik Patel. So we're asking to appoint these 2 because we have quite a few things coming up for the summer. So can I have a motion to appoint Marzina Granowski?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Have they been background checked, polygraph, and anything else?
We got psychological and background, not a polygraph.
Do they have a polygraph coming up?
No, not for auxiliaries. We would do that for part-time officers and not auxiliaries.
Chief, are you comfortable with these 2 people?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a motion for Marzina Granowski.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion by trustee Fritz, a second by trustee Diaz. Call the roll.
Diaz.
Yes.
Klug.
Yes.
Fritz.
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Worzynski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Asadik Patel, do I have a motion to approve him?
So moved.
I think we're approving both at the same time.
No, we're doing separate.
Sorry. I'll second.
Okay, motion by trustee Klug, second by trustee Diaz. Call the roll.
Diaz.
Yes.
Klug.
Yes.
Fritz.
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Worzynski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Mayor, could I ask why we're not moving forward on the Police and Fire Commission appointment? I know Mr. Plyer had agreed to stay on. It's been over a year.
I'm
Why
actually doing
why are
more
we-
appointments now, sir. I'm actually doing more appointments.
Oh, okay, they're not, it's not listed.
You got the list last
Okay,
last
but it's
meeting.
not,
All right, the next up appointment is Police Pension Board. We have a 2-year appointment. Wow. Tom Fergakis and Robert Romo. I have a motion to approve Tom Fergakis and Rob Romo.
Move to approve.
second.
Call the roll, please. Diaz, motion by Diaz and a second by Fritz.
Can someone provide me with another copy of the appointments, given that it's not in the Dropbox, before I vote?
I'll take one too if you have an extra.
Okay.
Sure.
I'll share with you.
Rob, would you mind going and taking a copy of this, please? He's got one right there.
Rob, make one for me too.
Thank you.
It should be.
Plan to go through these individually, Mary?
Yes. Is it okay to move on until, does
I'm
anybody
okay.
else needs,
You
everybody
okay
else
with
okay?
With these two?
With these two, sure.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Diaz and a second by Fritz. Call the roll.
Diaz,
Is this for both or one?
Yes, Tom Vergakis and Robert Romo.
Yes.
Luke,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Kuzinski.
Yes. Okay. Right, that's for the police.
Yes.
Fire Pension Board, we have a 2-year appointment for Peter Chiodo and Robert Romo, who is replacing Albert Martin, who resigned.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Lima, a second by Diaz. Call the roll.
Diaz,
Yes.
Luke,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Kuzinski.
Yes. A motion passes. Okay, ETS Board, this is a 2-year term. We have Sam DiMaggio, Moses Diaz, and Greg Swiatek. Do I have a motion to approve the 3?
I'll move.
Oh, no.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Krasinski, a second by trustee Klug. Call the roll.
Diaz.
Yes.
Luke,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Kuzinski.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. Recreation Board, there's actually, there's no one to reappoint. They were reappointed last time. There are 2 vacancies on the board, but John Beeler right now isn't in any rush to replace the 2, but we are looking for other replacements at this time. Health Board is a 3-year term. We have Jeff Iwanio, we have Kathy Manis, we have Bridget McNeil, and Patricia Jagelski.
I'll move.
Second.
They have a motion by trustee Brzezinski and a second by trustee Klug. Call the roll.
Diaz,
Yes.
Luke,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Kuzinski.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. Okay, we have Zoning and Planning Board. These will be done individually. This is a 3-year term. Joe Keishel. Do I have a motion to approve Joe Keishel for another 3-year term?
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Fritz, a second by trustee Klug. Call the roll.
Diaz,
Yes.
Luke,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Kuzinski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Robert Ursuto.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Lima, second by trustee Diaz. Call the roll.
Diaz,
Yes.
Luke,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Kuzinski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Patrick Tutak. Do I have a motion?
These are carryovers, all 3, right?
Yes. Have no motion? Okay. Then we are done with appointments for tonight. That's it. Okay. We can do Jeannie. I don't mind doing Jeannie.
Bring it back up. Why not?
Jeannie's
Let's keep
swearing.
going. We're not doing this over the course of 6 weeks. Just bring them up. Let's keep going. Up, moved. So moved. On to that, sure.
Okay. I have a motion by trustee Lima. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Yep. Okay, motion by Lima, second by Fritz, call the roll.
Diaz,
I have a question on the bottom part of the list. This is the first time I see this list. There's 5 people on here. The first 3 you're saying are carryovers, and the 4th one is replacing Eric Bloomquist.
Mhm.
Did Eric resign?
Hmm? No, I'm not reappointing him.
What does that mean? What is the reason?
I have my reasons.
I'm expected to explain everything I do up here.
Yeah, well, I have my reasons, and, I don't feel that, I wanna replace him. I just wanna replace him.
Yeah, I'd like to rescind my, my motion.
Okay, then we're not moving on with any more appointments.
Then
tonight.
the understandings, then the rest will roll if we're stopping
Yeah, but I could do 30-day appointments, yes.
regarding whom.
I can
There's also
do,
something missing on here that I'd like some clarification about.
and I can do 30-day appointments for Gary Johansson. and-
I don't believe you can, given that,
Yeah, no, I can't.
is it, can we get some clarification on that, John? I know we've been a lot of question about people rolling over the last year or so. Now, Eric hasn't been removed from his position. So given that there's not an opening, how would that work?
Yeah, well, as long as if there's a vacancy, I'd have to,
Yeah.
I'd have to look at the terms and what it says, so I've been asked to look at each one of these individually, but the law is if there's a vacancy, the mayor can do an appointment. If the board refuses that appointment, the mayor can do an interim appointment to a vacancy.
Given that there's not a vacancy, there's nothing to appoint, at least regarding ZPA, which is what we're discussing right now.
Yeah, like I said, I'd have to look at the terms, and if they're expired, or I haven't looked at these. I'd be happy to do it.
Well, we can do a historical society.
Well, wait a minute. There was a motion and a
I
second.
rescinded it.
Yeah.
I rescinded my motion. Because I have reasons.
Yeah, through the motion and second.
Right. Doesn't that need to be seconded?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, well, there's
Forgive my instructions.
There was a motion on the floor and a second. We didn't
Way
take
I
a
read
vote.
it, you have to vote.
I can't rescind my motion before we vote.
There can be debate, and you can vote against it, but once it's on the
Yes-
floor.
Yes or no, no rescinding.
All right, well, there you go.
All right, so then there's a motion on the floor for, had two tag, Lima and Fritz.
okay.
Mm-hmm,
Motion is to approve, correct?
correct.
The second is to approve.
Okay, Diaz,
Yes.
Klug,
No.
Fritz,
No.
Lima,
Present.
okay, and Worzynski.
No.
Lima was present.
Ready?
Am I correct? Klug and Fritz are no,
Correct. Klug and Fritz are no.
and Lima.
Lima was voted present, which means he votes no. Correct. It does not pass, correct.
So we're back to.
We can do Jeannie Swerden.
I'd like to give more explanation on what Eric is, why he's not getting reappointed. Did he do something that the other 3 did not do right? Is that part of the conversation here or no?
Well, I don't want to reappoint him.
So is it a personal thing or is it a thing
Well,
that
it's,
it's not a thing for the village?
Something that I sent a letter and never heard from him personally, so never discussed it with me personally,
Is he here?
so.
He was for a little bit, I believe. My understanding is that there was a response from Mr. Bloomquist to, I believe you, and we were CC'd on it. So, did you not see the?
No, I
email
did
not
not,
working
I didn't,
properly?
no, I did not get that email. I did not get that email.
I got it.
I didn't.
Okay. Cool. Who's next on the roll?
He's next, or they're next. Gary.
Can we, if you, yeah, so,
I move to appoint Eric Bloomquist.
You can't. It has the.
Appointments can only
it
come
has
from the
to
mayor.
come
Can
from
we
the
vote
mayor.
on-
These are mayor appointments.
I still move to appoint Eric Lewis.
You can't.
It's out of order.
It's out of order.
I'll be out of order then. I'll move.
You're out of order. You're out of order.
Can we
So,
vote on Mr. Johansson then?
you can, if I have a motion.
I would move to reject the appointment of Mr.
Second.
Johansson.
He's fishing right
I move any second.
Yeah. There was a motion by Lima and a second by Diaz. Reject Gary Johansson's appointment. I guess I can ask why.
My understanding, and I'm a bit of a neophyte with this.
And I wish Gary were here too, because,
Excuse me?
you know, I wish Gary were here too then, you know, to
Okay,
hear this.
my understanding is we don't willy-nilly pull and add people to boards.
Oh, we
There's
have.
been a lot of,
yeah.
I'm
We
sorry.
have,
I've only
many,
been-
many times.
Like I said, I'm a
yeah.
neophyte, I've only been here a year, Mayor,
Yeah.
forgive me. I don't want to get out of protocol. Mr. Bloomquist, okay, well, since I have the floor, I believe Mr. Bloomquist is exactly the type of person who should be involved in village boards. He has a family, he's been here quite a long time, he's married to a person who's been here even longer. These are the exact type of people who you identify, maybe not Mr. Bloomquist in particular, though I believe you
I
did appoint
actually
him.
appointed him.
I was
yes.
getting to it, I believe you appointed him.
Mhm.
When you always mention, we need new blood, we need new people involved, we need that energy.
Yep.
Mr. Bloomquist checks every single box for those things. Now, you may have your reasons to not appoint him. I think I just laid out a laundry list of why he's the exact type of person we would want involved in a board. I think he puts the interests of the village before himself because he is a homeowner in town with, I believe, 4 children. I think the oldest is 14 and the youngest is 86. This is exactly the type of person we want involved with the village, and I will stand behind him to ensure that he is involved with the village. And if it becomes a parliamentary fight about it, so be it. But as much as I can, I will ensure that he retains that spot. Those are my reasons.
Okay, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add that also, if he served and he served well and he's not wanting to step down, I don't think we should remove him.
Okay, I agree. Thank you.
At this point, there's a motion on Johansson, so you're gonna have to vote yes or no,
Right.
one way or the other. If you vote to not replace him, the mayor claims that she can appoint. So we would think maybe we need a second opinion, because the corporate council wasn't very
Council
clear.
seemed to say that there's not a vacancy.
Then roll.
The current person would
Yeah.
roll. That's how it sounded
That's always
like to
the
me.
way it was for 20 years
Okay.
that I've been there.
So my motion was to
You
reject.
rejected, yes, Gary
So-
Johansson, so take the roll on that.
We're back to.
Rejecting.
Right, there's no.
And I'm sorry, I don't know who Gary Johansson is, I mean, no disrespect to Gary.
I would just like the issue to be, I understand what you're saying, Kitch, that there's no vacancy, so we roll, like, I would just like some clarity regarding this, and I believe the family of Eric would like some as well. Given that he wrote a letter and responded, and I believe he took the steps asked of him, given.
Oh, we just have to.
Since we're still in discussion mode, I've known Gary Johansson for a number of years. I've coached with him, had his kids. He's a very kind gentleman, but I have not heard any reason why we should replace Eric. And as far as I'm concerned, he's done nothing wrong, so I don't see why we should replace him. No disrespect to Gary Johansson, but I haven't heard nothing negative about Eric.
This is not reflective of Gary Johansson. I don't particularly know the man. I'm sure he'd make a fine candidate. I just don't like the way we're going about it.
He's a very nice gentleman, I've known him for years, but again, I haven't heard nothing negative or why he should be replaced.
So it's Diaz
Yeah,
and Baldwin.
right.
Diaz,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima,
Yes.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Okay. Jeannie Swerden, 1-year term.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Fritz and a second by trustee Klug.
Sir, can you just explain to me why that's a 1 year versus a 3 year?
It's always been a
It's
1 year.
always been that way. She
Okay.
gets paid. It's,
Thank you.
sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Diaz,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Fritz.
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Okay, we have the Historical Society, 2-year appointment. We have June Ullin, Hildy Killian, and Warren Schrack.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Fritz, a second by trustee Lima. Call the roll.
And this time we're voting on all three.
Mm-hmm.
And you said second by Lima,
Correct.
right? Diaz,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima,
Yes.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and the only appointment for Fire and Police Commission then is Gail Bodie for a 1-year term.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by trustee Diaz, Samke, the second to trustee Grzinski. Call the roll.
Who was the first?
What was it?
Diaz,
Diaz,
Gail Bodie,
Holy Gail Bodie.
and the second?
Currently.
Grzinski.
Kitch. Ladies first.
Diaz,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, I am not doing,
We've done everything else.
nope, not doing anything else.
Why?
Because,
That's all.
yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
No, I
I've done every other. I also have a question.
No, that's
done?
enough. We're
That's
done.
enough, okay.
That's enough. Okay, we're done.
That's so, and that's enough.
Yeah.
Didn't know I was talking to my mother this evening.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yep.
Mayor,
Treat me like a
when
child.
I
I
think
will
when I
respond
was
like
in
one.
town, when I ask them why they do stuff, they just tell me because, I've never taken it for an answer.
Yeah, well, neither have I
Sorry.
with
You're the
a lot of
detective.
things. I've gotten that over the years many times from this board, so.
Not from me.
1 year.
Not from me.
Spent 1 year here. I explained everything I've done, everything
Okay,
I've
we're
voted
gonna
on.
move on to
All right,
other
let's move on.
matters. We're gonna move on to other matters. A resolution authorizing the disposition of certain village property, fire department, tower ladder, fire truck, 454. I have a motion to approve
Move
that.
to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by trustee Diaz, a second by trustee Grzinski. Call the roll.
Diaz,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Fritz.
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Resolution number.
That would be 1316.
Okay, a resolution setting forth the schedule of regular meetings of the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Schiller Park for fiscal year 2016-17. I hear a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion by trustee Klug, a second by trustee Diaz. Call the roll.
Diaz,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Fritz.
Yes.
Lima.
Yes.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Resolution number.
14-16.
Resolution supporting a Class 6B real estate tax assessment application by Skyline Properties Schiller Park LLC for parcels located at 9420 and 9500 West River Street, Village of Schiller Park, Cook County, Illinois. 6B approval, Skyline Properties Schiller Park LLC.
Move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
motion by trustee Grzinski, a second by trustee Fritz. Call the roll.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes?
I need a little explanation, I'm confused. We talked about over the past as to where this money is distributed to and make the difference. And I have two impressions going, I don't know which is right.
Okay.
I'm looking for counsel to help. Does it get, the deficiencies get spread across Schiller Park? Deficiency across the county? The money that we're short?
Deficiencies that would get spread across all of the taxing bodies that are involved, that are on your tax bill. So it could be, Baby District, Cook County, school districts, it gets spread out amongst all of the taxing districts that make up your tax bill.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was just Schiller Park, and then I got.
It's not just the Schiller Park Municipal Park portion, it's spread out through all the, everybody that taxes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. A motion by trustee Brzezinski, a second by trustee Fritz. Call the roll.
Diaz,
Yes.
Luke,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima,
No.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Resolution number?
That is 1560.
A resolution supporting a Class C, 7C real estate tax assessment application by Skyline Property Schiller Park LLC for parcels located at 5040 and 5050 North River Road, Village of Schiller Park, Cook County, Illinois, potentially I-Combat and Dynamite Brewing.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Brzezinski. Who seconded it? I'm sorry. Trustee Fritz. Call the roll.
Diaz,
Yes.
Luke,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima,
No.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
It's 1660.
We have a resolution supporting a Class 6B real estate tax assessment application by Hudson Avenue Capital LLC for a parcel located at 3999 North 25th Avenue, Village of Schiller Park, Cook County, Illinois. 6B approval, Hudson Avenue Capital LLC.
So move.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Brzezinski, second by trustee Fritz. Call the roll.
Diaz,
Yes.
Luke,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima,
No.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Resolution.
1760.
Okay, an ordinance increasing the number of Class A liquor licenses by one.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Diaz, second by trustee Fritz. Call the roll.
Diaz,
Yes.
Luke,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lima,
No.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Ordinance number.
16-3059.
Okay, at this time, are there any citizens that wish to be heard?
I just want to say I feel like I've been in a situation with Rauner and Madigan at this time. I'm sorry that you all had to go through this and you had to subject us to it. And I have one question, because I love you all and I love Schiller Park. I'm new at this. Is there a lot of this discussion beforehand that could be done in committee instead of here, that we have to, it made this go so long?
Can I answer that question?
Yes, I'm sorry.
For instance-
I'm a greenhorn.
Actually, it's first directed to the mayor and
That's right.
then.
Okay,
you know,
that's why I
so-
asked, could I answer?
Did I do something
Yeah.
wrong?
No, not at
Oh,
all.
I'm sorry.
Sarah.
I
Not at all.
want to be.
The only thing I can tell you is that list of candidates we're voting on, this is the first time I've seen it. Right here sitting at my desk.
No, I just want to, a lot of discussion, it's productive, don't get me wrong. You have, the right to ask questions and different things that are going on in each department, finance committee and all this stuff. I'm not looking at the finance committee, I'm just saying, but to me, there's a lot of,
Vera,
conversation.
to explain it a little bit more, before I came into office, there was separate committee meetings as far as there was an agenda meeting
Yeah.
and then there was a regular board meeting.
Yeah.
A lot of the discussion on what was happening of what
Yeah.
they were voting on at village board meetings were done in agenda meetings. And
That's what I thought.
when it came to the board meeting, things were voted on that most people didn't even know what we were voting
Oh, I
on.
see.
So when I proposed when we came into office is to combine both the agenda meetings and the village board meetings.
Okay.
Now, that does make it longer, but it gives the opportunity for residents to hear what exactly is being discussed and what is being voted on. You also have an opportunity to talk before we vote on something and after we vote on something, which we never had before.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
before, when we had village board meetings, it was always it was voted on, and then if you wanted to make a comment, you could comment on it.
I apologize,
This
sorry,
makes
my
it
kids-
more open, it makes it more
Oh.
transparent for the
Okay.
village
But are
residents.
the decisions being
I
made now?
object
or
to
is it- or is it
that,
just-
that comment, Mayor, because the agenda meetings that were held 5 days prior to the board meeting were open meetings.
They were, and no one
And,
showed up to
well, that's the privilege of the
Right, and
voting
that's
people. So they were open, they were openly discussed. It didn't take as much time because in those agenda meetings, all 6 of us were here, or 7 of us, and the clerk, and everybody got to hear what was presented at one time. What I find in the committees is, unless the 3 committee people also have, like myself, I try to attend all the committee meetings so that I hear what's discussed firsthand. But not everyone can make those, so it's more time consuming than it was before. Because when it comes to the full board, there are 3 people that weren't at that meeting and they have questions. And generally, they're the same questions that were repeated by the committee chairman and the people on that committee. So all we're doing is dragging things out.
Trustee,
as far as
I
I'm-
typically do a full recap of my committee meeting as much as I can. Today it was handled
I'm sorry. I
in the
brought it up.
discussion, so I didn't have to. But when it comes up, that is exactly what I try to do,
I'm
because I
sorry.
feel that everyone has the right to hear what's done in the committee. And the reason it takes so long is I
Yeah,
feel that
but the
everyone has the
committee
right
meetings,
to
yeah,
hear
to
it.
me, the committee meetings you're appointed or voted in or whatever is for you to discuss it and make your opinions. By you coming here and having a discussion and getting nowhere is stupid, is my
I feel that everyone
But
has the
I'm
right to
sorry,
know what we do.
I'm just a little old lady from Richie's Place, and I wish you all well, and I know you're working very hard, and I know you're trying to do your best. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera.
Michael Cafferl, this was interesting, a very interesting meeting. Eric had just left here. July's coming up. Last year we didn't clean the streets. Are we gonna not clean the streets again this year? It's a question that I thought would bring that up. And then,
I can let Brian answer that for you right
We have the
now.
option in our contract to cancel some of the sweeps if we want to. We haven't made any decision yet. One of the things we decided to do last year, as Mr. Capera pointed out, was cancel both of the sweeps for July. After that process, we decided that if we did it again this year, we would only do 1 in a month, if we did it at all. So that's a decision that Eric would be making as Public Works Director based on his evaluation of the streets. And we would certainly be notifying the members of the board and the public if we decide to do that, because that was another thing that we learned from last year's experiences, that we wanted to make sure the board was aware of this in advance, so that if they had any concerns about the decision, they could express that. So we haven't made any decisions yet for this year is the conclusion, but we do have the option, because it would save us.
with this being the last meeting before July, and July was the